according to the clock. It is 6:30, so I will call the meeting to order. Do I hear an acceptance of the agenda? So moved. Moved by Ms. Curran, second. Second by Ms. Canfield, all in favor?
Aye.
4-0. Mr. Vignani is running a little late, but he will be here. Do I see any walk-ins? No? So everyone who's here has something on the agenda. Very good. Or they're interested. Or they're just interested, yes. The report of the town administrator, Jim?
Evening, as always, unfortunately, we start with our COVID. Mapping data for last week was 18, which is down from 25 the previous week. With the schools on vacation, we don't have the school report, so the total numbers from the town would not be accurate at this point. Our positivity rate over the last 14 days was at 3.96, up from 3.07. Plymouth County was at 3.53, up from 2.65. Statewide, the positivity rate over the last 7 days was at 4.56, up from 3.89. Statewide, currently there are 25 individuals in the ICU, that's down from 37 of the previous week, and 12 people were incubated, down from 15 of the previous week. In addition, the latest news report said that the amount of COVID detected in the waste at Deer Island has gone down slightly the past week. So the numbers are kind of all over the place, but we'll continue to say vaccination is your best protection. If you haven't been vaccinated, please do so. If you've been vaccinated, get boosted. If you've been boosted and you're eligible for a second booster, please go and get that. But we'll continue to watch those numbers, and as we've been saying, really we're not watching the case numbers because of the large number of people that are vaccinated. What we're really going to focus on now are the hospitalizations and the intubations, because those will really be an indication of what's happening in terms of the seriousness of COVID. Water usage season is upon us, so we'll continue our water updates. The reservoir remained at plus 3.25. Attack factor part remained at plus 2.5. Average daily demand was down to 1.084, down from 1.110 the previous week. Again, for the second week in a row, that was almost all from our wells. The water treatment plant only ran for 1 day, producing 296,000 gallons. That was mostly just to run the plant and to do our testing requirements. Manganese at the water treatment plant reservoir went from 0.075 to 0.090. So that has gone up. That is enough that if we run the plant, it will send discolored water through the plant. So we'll have to keep an eye on that as we go. Rainfall was 0.88 measured at the plant. Selco's in town. They're working on Woodworth and Linton Lanes. They started yesterday in Bradford Ave. And we've completed the work of the treatment plant, so the full water ban that had been imposed over the time we were working on that has been lifted. It seems like the meeting that our legislative delegation put together with the Secretary of Transportation about Route 3A is continuing to pay benefits. We've been notified by MassDOT that they will be paving the rotary on Route 3A starting on May 1st. Sunday, May 1st, they will do milling operations. Wednesday and Thursday, May 4th and 5th, the castings will be raised and structures rebuilt. And Sunday, May 8th, they will be paving. That's the good news. The bad news is this work will take place from 8 p.m. until 5 a.m. overnight, and there will be significant detours around the rotary. We have not gotten those yet. Once we have the detours, we will post those. But most likely they will be going up down my street on Cross Street and then down Karen Street. Back up to 3A, but once we have those, we'll let people know. But that's good news, the rotary's in tough shape, so we'll be glad to see that get done. Situate Sister City, Soucy-en-Brie, will be celebrating our 10th anniversary of our Friendship Pact with Soucy-en-Brie, France this Saturday, April 30th at 10 a.m. at the Situate Performing Arts Center at Situate High School. Members of the official delegation from Soucy-en-Brie will be on hand to help us celebrate, as well as host families from Soucy who hosted Situate travelers to Soucy in 2019. French and American pastries will be served following the ceremony. Also this Saturday, it's Ship Shape Day here in Situate, the townwide cleanup. Volunteers will be here at the town hall from 8 to 1 p.m. handing out trash and recycling bags to residents who wish to take part in the townwide cleanup. Hummerock residents can pick up their supplies at the Hummerock Post Office from 8 a.m. to 12:30 p.m. This is a great annual event. It plays a huge part cleaning up in the wintertime. Last year, I think we collected over 9 tons of debris from Ship Shape Day, so it really does a lot of work. It really helps get the town in shape. So if you're around, please participate. You can get your supplies here at the town hall or again at the post office. Many people received the notice that Hollywood is once again returning to Situate. The Paramount Pictures film The Finest Kind, starring Tommy Lee Jones, Ben Foster, Toby Wallace, and Jenna Ortega. Tommy Lee Jones will not be here, so if you're looking to see Tommy Lee, don't bother, he will not be here for the filming. We'll be filming scenes at a home on Edward Foster Road, May 2nd through May 4th. The crew will be using a portion of the Peggy Beach parking lot for crew parking and catering. There will be controlled access to that portion of Edward Foster Road for residents and people who have to go out there, but they will try to keep the darkers out of there. Just if anybody wants to know if you've ever watched a movie being filmed, it is among the most boring things you can ever watch in your life. I watched them do The Finest Hours in Norwell, and it is just like watching paint dry. So unless you really know one of these stars, it's really not very exciting to watch. We will also have a series called Houses with History in Town starting this week. They'll be filming work on 2 historic houses, one on First Parish and one on Tilden, as those houses are renovated. That filming will be in the homes. It will be on and off through the month of October. You may see crews around town shooting B-roll film over the next couple weeks. Also, Marriott Bonvie will be filming a commercial at the Lighthouse on May 18th from 6 p.m. to sunset for the Marriott hotel chain. So, as I said, it's kind of boring, but you will see crews around town. We will have more. We generally have several more during the year. We'll let people know when they're coming. Last 2 things, Widows Walk is open. Please get down there. We'll have the transfer of liquor license tonight. We can get an idea of when we think that's going to open. I talked to Amy, said probably 10 days, 2 weeks, they should be open after tonight. So that'll be great. But the course is open. It's been crowded. The weather's been good. So make your reservations and get out there. And I want to thank the Hibernians, John Sullivan, and the Irish Sister City for the wonderful Easter Rising Monument dedication on Sunday. If you didn't have a chance to be there, Seth, as always, was there. And he filmed it, so it will be available on SCTV for people to choose to watch. And that's what I have for this evening.
And we received a proclamation or a recognition from Congressman Keating, who was one of the key speakers at the event, and it was really well attended and very, very moving. So thank you to John Sullivan and all the Irish people in town. That's great. Any questions for the town administrator? Yes, Ms. Karen.
I do. Did you say that the Rotary was going to be milled in the evening of May 1st? Oh, you know what, never mind, you said May 1st, right?
Yes.
June 1st, okay. I was looking at the Best Buddies Challenge, so I just wanted to make sure, but never mind, that's June 1st.
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Any other questions? No? All right, we're all good. So 6:45, I think we can do this because it's not a public hearing, right?
Correct.
I'm almost done being chair and I'm finally getting the hang of it. So, discuss vote outdoor entertainment permit for a band for a wedding at 246 Gannett Road on August 13th, 5 to 11 p.m. Deborah Trachtenberger. And you must be
Hi,
Deborah.
how are
Yes.
you?
Good, how are you?
So do you need to see a copy of the letter that I sent the butters?
I think you
No,
would,
here, okay, just wanna make sure. So, it is my daughter getting married
Oh,
and,
congratulations.
we're expecting 200 people and, it will be tinted, there will be a live band. We will have people park at the North Situate train station and have a trolley that will take them. Obviously, Gannett Road is a busy road, so I've already called, I put a phone call in chat, I think his name is Taylor Billings, although I haven't
Yes.
heard back from him yet, for police detail. And the band will probably play from 5 to 11 p.m.
Is parking allowed at the MBTA stations
Yes,
out there?
actually,
Okay.
Lorraine gave me the information.
Great.
Yeah.
Didn't want you to get
So
tickets
what-
and cars
what-
towed and.
Yeah, so what you have to do, which I was kind of disappointed about, is everyone will have to download the app to pay.
Oh.
I thought that maybe we could just pay for X amount of spaces in block, but you're not permitted to do that. So people will download the app and we'll go from there.
So, any questions from the board? No? I think
a lot of people.
Have a good event.
Yeah.
Thank you. So will I get something formal, an email, or you? Perfect, thank you so much.
Thank you for coming in,
Appreciate it.
wedding. We have to vote.
Yes.
Would you like to vote?
Please.
Move to grant an outdoor entertainment permit to Deborah Trachtenberg, is that right? For a wedding on August 13th, 2022, at 246 Gannett Road, Situate, music to be provided by a wedding band. Hours of entertainment will be from 5 p.m. until 11 p.m.
Motion by Ms. Canfield, second by Mr. Vignani. All in favor?
Aye.
5-0, motion carries.
Thank you so much.
Have a great event.
Good evening.
Do we have Mr. Jeremy Buckley here tonight?
One day.
Yes.
Please come up. And this is to discuss both outdoor entertainment permit DJ for wedding at 21 Harvard Street in Hummerock on July 8th from 5 to 9 p.m. Mr. Buckley, can you tell us about your event?
Yeah, so I will be getting married at my parents' home in Hummerock on the 8th, and I believe we have somebody scheduled from 4 or 5 to 9.
Yes.
And we have arranged for off-site parking at St. Teresa's in Marshfield, just over the bridge.
Oh, good. Have you notified the abutters yet?
Yes.
Very good.
We should have a letter on file.
It's in the back.
Great.
Paperwork in order. Any questions? Comments? Congratulations.
Are you
Thank you very much.
Hope you have a wonderful day.
What's that?
Are you having 250 people?
I am not having fun. 75 at most.
That's still a lot of people,
Yeah.
so we'll have fun. Motion, Ms. Canfield?
Outdoor and, move to grant an outdoor entertainment permit to the Buckley family for an outdoor entertainment permit on July 8th, 2022 from 5 to 9 p.m. at 21 Harvard Street for a wedding DJ.
Second by Ms. Curran, all in favor? Aye. 5-0, motion carries.
Thank you so much.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Have good weather.
Thank you very much.
Your sound on here, discuss vote special event library trustees mini golf fundraiser at the Situate Town Library. I want to hear how you're gonna golf at the library. On Sunday, June 26th from 1 to 4 p.m. I know our director of the library is here, and Mr. McNulty.
McNabb, Joe McNabb. I'm with the Situate Library Foundation.
So is Mr. McNulty someone else?
No. Not spelled correctly.
Okay.
Sorry about that.
That's all right, that's all right. Hi Jesse, how are you?
Good, how are you all?
Good, good. So you wanna tell us what you're doing?
Yeah, we've done this before. We host a mini golf event for really young kids and families. And we try to do it on Sundays or off days. So I'd like to use the library for 2 hours on Sunday, June 26th to host that event. It's great exposure for the library for young kids and young families. Not as much a fundraiser, but we do promote the foundation during the event, so it's kind of a win-win for us if we can pull that off.
Sounds like fun.
It's a great time.
It's always a really fun event, and everybody is welcome. We get a great turnout, usually we have 200 or so people. And it's one of the few times that you can knock a golf ball downstairs at the library, so.
So inside as well?
It's all inside.
All inside.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's fun.
The company comes, sets the whole thing up for you, and then dismantles it and takes care of everything.
Gee, I wish you knew about that when my son was that age, that would be fun. Yeah, so we have to put it on our calendar.
Get those
You're welcome.
Next.
Everyone's welcome.
Bring all of those.
Does anyone have any suggestions?
No, I remember the first year wringing hands about how that would work, and it's tried and true, so it's a great event. Thanks for bringing it back.
Great. Do I hear a motion?
Sure. Move to approve a special event permit for Situate Library Foundation's mini golf at the library to be held on June 26, 2022, from 1 to 4 p.m. Or is it
11 to 1.
Yeah, the revised from 11 to 1 is voted on the application.
I'm
Okay,
sorry.
so sorry. So from 11 to 1.
Oh, okay, sorry, I'm. Never mind. Motion by Ms. Curran, second, as amended, second.
Second.
By Mr. Vignani, all in favor?
Aye.
5-0, motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
Have fun. So, we're early, but I think I see, yes, Kevin Kelly's here. We could talk about, discuss both the library contract to New England Generating for $113,852, and Mr. Kelly is here, our facilities director, to tell us about it.
So this is the long-awaited contract for a new generator, natural gas, to provide the library with full power, complete power in the event of a power outage. And the new generator is the company we are awarding to. We bid it through the state contract TRD-01. They were the awarding vendor. And here to have the select board approve the contract on the new generator.
And where's it going?
So it'll be going on the, well, if you look on the big lawn, open lawn area up towards the central housing.
Okay.
It's going up to the top of the hill. There's a transformer in the middle of the grounds there.
Okay.
And we're gonna put it close to that as we can. And then we're putting a fence around it. The fence we're going to put around will be very similar to the fence that is around the dumpster enclosure for the housing, because it will all kind of match in, even though that's not on ours,
Well,
but
that'd be nice.
visually it will match.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Questions?
Yeah, I'm glad it came in under, I think initially we were quoted like $250,000.
Right, and then we had the engineer come out and then we value engineered that down even more so. So this is a good it is almost 36 months out right now.
I was gonna ask that.
But 4 months ago, it was 40-something months, 42 months.
Yeah.
They were having a problem with radiators, and apparently they've resolved that. So they do expect that it will come in sooner than that. And we are looking at doing the pre-work this summer. So we'll be doing the trenching and the pad and the getting everything ready, and that we'll coordinate that closely also with the new garden, the new
The pollinator garden.
Yes.
the garden going outside, because the gas line will be coming from Branch Street.
Right,
So we'll be coordinating with those people to make sure that all is taken care of.
3 years.
And the goal is that this would be an emergency center, right?
Well, I guess you're careful of the use of emergency center, I think, certainly a warming center, and a charging center. And yes, certainly those types of places, and certainly protect the investment in the building, but would be able to run all utilities. Yeah, so it'd be great.
I'll cross my fingers for it.
I
A
think
quicker motion
they're
transit,
they're confident it will move quickly.
that's good.
It won't take the 36 months, but that's right now, that's what the company's saying.
Hope for good weather.
Right.
6 months.
And Jim, we have the money, right, in the.
Alright,
And I've already been to the Public Building Commission on this, and been working with them on this, and they approved this contract.
thank you, motion. Yes.
That the select board award a contract to New England Generator and not to exceed $113,852 for generator at Situate Town Library.
Second.
Second by Ms. Canfield, all in favor?
Aye.
5-0, motion carries. Thank you.
Great, thank you very much.
Thank you, Kevin.
Thank you.
Thanks for keeping us for years.
Yeah, it probably is. And hopefully it's not a few more years, hopefully it's quicker than that.
We have a ribbon cutting.
Yeah. Thank you,
Great night.
thank you.
So because we're so far ahead of schedule right now, Linda Hayes is not here, so can't really do that. The 7:30 is a public hearing, so we can't do that. Janelle, I know, is coming, but he was only expecting to have to be here at 7:45, so
We could jump down to 8:15.
Goes down to 8 o'clock, right?
8:15.
discuss quote acceptance of donation from the Drew Company to Situate Recreation.
I'll do it.
Okay, great.
So the True Company is working on a silver certification, well, actually silver lead certification for their building, but that's what they're working towards. As part of that, they recycle scrap steel, and they receive $1,500 for the value of that steel. And they wish to donate that to the Recreation Department to be used as scholarships for Situate children or people who might want to participate in the rec program and otherwise wouldn't be able to
That's
afford it.
awesome, yeah, that's great. That's a twofer. Recycling and donations and good work.
Is that gonna be our only, wait, is the school lead certified as well, is Leeds leads?
I
don't
can't
believe
remember,
so.
I don't think we ever had that thing.
I think it was decided to build it to, it's like a library, build it to the standards, but it was a cost.
Go through all the.
They didn't, okay, so they didn't pursue
Yeah.
actual designation, because there's a cost associated.
Okay.
So this was all their idea, they just came in and said they wanted to do it, so. Great. So great, thanks, we can put on the agenda for you to approve.
Awesome.
So, yes, please.
Move that the select board accept a donation of $1,500 to go towards Situate Recreation Scholarship Opportunities for Situate youth from the Delbrook JKS Management Company.
Second by Ms. Canfield.
With gratitude.
With gratitude. All in favor? Aye. 5-0, motion carries.
We'll draft a letter from the chair, so I thank you, that's the donation.
We had it on there, it's
Look at you.
She's going away, she's working hard to get everything all tied up, right? So, Linda, you came just a minute in time.
Really?
A little ahead of schedule, but that means you can just go home earlier.
Okay, alright, so I guess I don't know if John Belber will make it, I did quickly call him.
Well, you can, but do the other stuff first if you want, and then when he comes, we just happen to be.
We can do that. We've never been to a choir,
I know, it's nice.
right?
Everyone's spent after town meeting.
Okay.
So why don't we talk about the monetary donation for the 83,000?
Yes, well, that's
That's
happy
wonderful.
news. Unexpected, amazing, and I did invite Laura McMahon as well, but I did not hear back from her. This is actually a second donation from the same original donor, the trust, for Marie Gillis, that she has managed, I guess. Originally, it was 20,000, which we still have because the bulk of that was going to go to the new van, and it was sort of transportation earmarked at the time that I presented it to you. And then we didn't need it for the new van because it ended up being 100% covered by the Department of Transportation. So we still have that, and now this is added to that. So I did propose, and it's just one thing, but it's a big thing, and I have been talking and even hearing more of a need and maybe more of an immediacy on trying to develop a social day program for people with early stage Alzheimer's and dementia, and it's something that I would need to fund to get a coordinator for that and to have someone do that, whether it starts 1 day a week, 2 days a week, and see how that goes. We would have 8 people, maybe proposed 8 to 10 people in the program that might run 5 or 6 hours a day for the 1 or 2 days each week. They'd have lunch together, they would do activities together, it would be something that this person that we could bring in would help to create and organize and develop. So I think that could just be timely, doesn't mean we couldn't consider other things, and that's a lot of money, but even if I went out to find a grant, we would want something that you could repeat and continue to be funded by, and this is even better. So I haven't had a lot of time to think else, we already have some other ideas, but I think this is a good place to start.
Well, it's a real
It would
need.
use it all right away, anyway.
So I guess my question is, I wasn't clear on if it's for the people who are have the condition?
Yes.
Or is it for the caregivers, or is it for both?
We would call it respite for the caregivers, so the idea
So in
is
other
that,
words, they could maybe drop
right,
their loved one
Yes.
off and be
Yes.
happy with their being taken
Which is-
care of, and
yes.
they could go shop or
Which is where we are
Go
limited
home
or
and take a
restricted
nap.
altogether, we don't do that. You know, they really need that companion if they're coming to the senior center, and then sometimes even then, it's just not appropriate. So it's been a tough call for some we know, some we don't know, people are always looking for that help.
Yeah.
So that's what it would be for, right, exactly, that we don't have any model for right now. So they do it in Duxbury, they have for years, the others are very private. One in Hingham, but it's a bigger kind of a program, not at a senior center. So
Does
it-
Friendship House do something like it? The one in Carroll?
they may for a different population.
Yeah.
Also, Marshfield actually did just start one, so they have 1-2 days a week. So there's a model out there, but it's something that we've thought about and the need has been presented to us numerous times lately, so. That's a thought, but otherwise it's tremendous and.
Any questions from the board?
I'll go, you looked my way, can I go?
Yes, I'm sometimes on the tennis ball, right? Who wants to?
I know, sorry. So, this is so generous and wonderful. Is the donation is it tied to a particular request like the transportation was, or is it open for you? Because I worry about the sustainability of the social day program.
When the original donation had been made, it was really to help the seniors of Situate.
Okay.
And that was sort of the stipulation that we kind of came up with. I think the transportation thing met that request or that standard, as does this, I think, but it wasn't mentioned, it literally it came to me via a third party. So Mara did not give it to me herself, but I know, and she's on the check.
I think it's a great idea, I just wanna make sure we do the full
Okay,
review of how much does a program like this cost to
Yes.
sustain, 'cause you don't wanna start it
Right.
and not be able to sustain it.
well,
And
that,
are there retrofits to the building that would have to be done? I have no
No.
idea.
no, and I will say that the Humrock room, the corner room, was designed with this in mind. So I mean, we've been talking about that, I talked about that with the architect at the time we were designing the building, that had its own bathroom, that it was, if you had to be upstairs, which we did when the design became that way, that at least that was a little set off, and they would have their own sort of area. So that said, we are ready for it, it was just the funding, really, to have somebody do it, because we don't have that bandwidth ourselves. Sustainability is true, we could always go up for a grant afterwards, once it's in place too. Right. And that would be the word of the grant also. This is bigger.
Did you want to talk?
Oh, go right ahead, Mr.
No, you
Chairman.
go. Thanks for.
Oh, well, thank you so much, Mr. Chairman. Similar to Maura's question is if the use other than to benefit Situate seniors was not defined by the donor, just knowing some of the gifts that have been to the library that actually get restricted when it's not, would it be advantageous to accept this donation for the benefit of the Council on Aging? And then you can, I think the program's a great idea, but that gives you the flexibility to apply it to whatever the need is
Sure, that can be.
within the Council on Aging. Is that,
Yes.
rather than specifically make our acceptance to a specific program, give them flexibility. Is that something, I guess, needs to Jim? Is that-
Yeah, I think it should be an accepted donation, $83,000 to the Situate Council on Aging, that's all.
Yeah,
Well, we
I
did-
agree, because it's written very specific here, yeah.
Is it, so we did say to provide opportunities in support of our mission, including, but.
But we could literally just put a period there and not specify the program. Come on in, John.
Yeah, I was wondering, I mean, this is such a large donation, I didn't know if there was some sort of physical structure or something that the senior center needed, that we could actually do a naming possibility.
That's a very nice point that I hadn't considered, and we don't have to rush to this. So maybe the modification is a good one, you could consider that.
I mean, $100,000
I know.
is a lot of money, so I think, I don't know if it's, maybe the Council on Aging could come back to us with a
Yes.
list of 3 or 4 things, or
Okay,
things that you think would be good things that
Sure.
you can.
sure, that's great.
Having said that, Karen's suggestion is just accept it for the Council on Aging, to support their mission.
And come back with
And then I could come up with ideas to use.
recognition of
If the donor didn't restrict it, then you don't need to restrict it.
Great. Other questions? I would think.
Move that the Board of Select Board, so the Select Board accepted a donation in the amount of $83,000 from the Marie I. Gillis Trust to the Situate Senior Center and Council on Aging to be used to support opportunities in support of the mission.
Second by Ms. Curran. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
5-0, motion carries with gratitude.
Thank you, yes, I'll pass that on.
Yes, really, it's wonderful. Nice to have such generous people. So I see Mr. Belbert just joined us, we're a little ahead of schedule.
That's great, thank you very much for
Better than being
coming in.
late.
Right, and it's quite a large garden it's gonna be, thank you.
You heard enough, that's right.
A lot of garden beds. Yes.
This is another very generous donation, of course, proposed by John, in fact, for a couple of garden beds at the senior center, green space beyond the patio, which seems to get the best sun and have access, that we could use for the kitchen, so.
That popular kitchen. We keep hearing how popular the lunches are.
What a good chef Fred.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
That's great.
And there are already 2 beds there that were built by an Eagle Scout last year.
And what are those beds?
Those are raised up and they're currently off to the side, southwest of the building, sort of closer to the original Gates Middle School.
We hadn't consulted with John at that point, so we did choose a location that we thought got enough sun, but actually even Kevin Kelly, of course, proposed it's difficult even to mow under them because they are standing garden beds and they're for herbs. So we could move them onto some concrete.
And those were donated to the senior center.
They were by a young man called McNeese who was doing an Eagle Scout project.
We donated plants for him and soil from Holly Hill Farm where I work.
Well, because it occurred to me that the food pantry's there too, and sometimes they.
Absolutely, yeah, so
Fresh share.
in my role as community outreach at Holly Hill Farm, I'm a Situate resident, where's your first parish road. In my role as community outreach at Holly Hill Farm, I visit the food pantry once a week, both to pick up compost from them, usually about 2 to 3 buckets a week, saving on their trash, able to put that into making compost back at the farm in Cohasset, and then donating produce when available, either from Teach Sherman or other garden areas, either at the farm or elsewhere. So yes, keep in my mind as well that any surplus of produce could be harvested and delivered right there on a Tuesday or Thursday.
And is our kitchen composting as well, the senior center?
They're not composting as yet, not yet.
It's easy.
It is
We
easy.
can learn.
So it is easy, it's, we're trying to make sure it's happening in all 6 schools. There's a
Yeah.
wonderful grant written to the Situate Education Foundation from Ms. Hartwig at the high school to start cafeteria composting. It could happen on site at the senior center. It could also be something arranged where perhaps I can come take it away. There's as a service, you know,
Right.
it could be arranged that way too.
Right.
But yeah, they do great to reduce trash as well as recycling.
And even surplus, RNC Farms has been generous in always bringing extras themselves, and we just put them out for seniors to take and like that, so it would always be that.
Put it what?
But
Compost?
vegetables,
Oh, vegetables.
well, maybe the compost would
Yeah.
too, but vegetables, so
Mhm.
it's nice.
That's great. Yeah, and it's just an active center that it would seem that 2 beds, low maintenance crops that the chef could use primarily as well as seniors could tend to. And then there are many classes that are held at the senior center where teachers could incorporate the garden there as well. Seasonally appropriate crops. And then
I
put it
heard
together.
Julia Child was there.
She was in the.
Mhm.
Well, thank you so much, very generous.
Well, very kind of you to collaborate.
And also nicely enough, we have received, you've given me the rundown what we thought materials would cost, a couple of $100, and someone happened to have made a very nice donation in honor of the tax preparation service that we had been provided, and they don't take money, so it's $200, it seems fortuitous.
It's meant.
Right,
People came from out of town for that tax service.
they did, and we were a host site, so that was, that was fine, we just wanted to, so.
And just to further tie in, if I could, a connection, one of the things I work on at the high school in Situate is with Mr. Ranieri's school to career internship class. And there are 3 seniors in high school, who work with me and do work at the farm, and I take them to the community school gardens where we have, you know, all 6 school gardens. And they worked on enhancing the high school garden. But if this is granted, I would work with them on building these beds. Seniors for the seniors.
Perfect.
I want a t-shirt.
Yeah.
That's great.
So, be nice. Gardens everywhere.
We're lucky you're in the community. I know
feel
how
very
hard
fortunate.
you've worked over the years.
Thank you, very grateful for the support at Teak Sherman and Appleton Field. Keep on growing.
Looking forward to Appleton Field.
Me
See what
too.
comes out of there.
Yeah, a little less grass.
That's all right.
It's good.
Any questions from the board?
That's great.
All right. Do I hear a motion?
Move that the select board approve a donation of up to 2 garden beds at the senior center property to supplement the food service program and requiring only $200 expenditure provided by separate senior center donation towards the provision of supplies and materials.
Second. Second by Ms. Curran, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. We've got gratitude.
Thanks, John.
And with water on the mind and potential treatment facilities, there are 2 rain barrels on site, which will help a great way towards
Yes,
great.
conserving and using that water
That's right
to grow the
there.
garden.
That's great.
Freya donated those to us. That's
Freya?
Excellent.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Right, John, I've just taken.
Now she's on the hot seat for you.
Okay. Good luck. Thank you very much.
Let's go.
You want this back?
Thank you.
You want this back?
Alright, so building use policy, generally speaking, this came up as a result of the St. Patrick's Day issue. We knew we had to do it,
Yes.
but it became clear to us around St. Patrick's Day that we didn't have it all wrapped up in terms of the policy. So I know we asked you to come back. So if you'd like to give us some of the highlights and then I'll open it to the board.
I mean, I think it's twofold what we would like to be able to do, and frankly, for the first year, what I have been in a limited fashion doing that supports town-sponsored, town-affiliated community groups that need a place to meet. So I've been managing that, whether it involved Situate committees, personnel, the school, for other town-affiliated groups, and also groups that had given to us, and I was able then to offer that same in return, whether it's the Veterans, of course, the Rotary Club, who have done a lot for us, and the Garden Club, which was mentioned recently, but they've been doing programs for us for years, so it was a small thing I can do. So to be able to provide groups or meetings that I've been able to accommodate mostly on my own, I have had a couple of volunteers and can continue with that model. I don't always have staff that might be able to stay or monitor to the degree that we need that, but I just left, we had an student artist exhibit, so we were having a small reception, 4 to 7. It's a lovely thing, and it's just something really they've done for us to provide the artwork, and we just open the doors and provide some refreshments, and a nice place to be, and we've had such a good response from anything that I have offered to do in a very, just a very careful, limited fashion. The Garden Club event that we did do last week, it was a meeting, it was a presentation, so they needed technology. They brought their own snacks, and one of the seniors, and so often it really is still serving the population that we might prioritize, but really we wanna bring in more people who are then able to experience, enjoy, and appreciate the site as well. But one of my more regular students, she was there, and she said, "Oh, I'm so happy to see you, I would just come to anything that was at the senior center." And I said, I'm gonna have to say that next week, because it's true, it was nice for them, it was a nice space that we could provide. So that's on the one hand, whether it's department and not department, but meetings that accommodate town committees. The Water Resource Authority has been using it, the Irish Sister City, I have accommodated them every month for a meeting, and felt in turn with the French Sister City that I could do the same thing for them. Again, they are a town I feel sponsored and affiliated. But I did say during the planning stage that potentially the senior center could be revenue for the town, so I think that's the consideration before you for the most part. I mean, I'd like to be able to continue what I'm doing with discretion, with your approval, but also the idea that should we do more, can we do more, how much more do you think we should do? I guess that's the question. The proposal I made, I mean, it's a draft, it is certainly based on what is out there for the Situate Harbor Community Building or the Maritime Center, or what I knew we did in Duxbury and they continue to do, so I had that experience. I think the thing it hinges on is just being able to manage it, so whether it's myself or other staff or trained volunteers that are approved by me. I'm not suggesting we give the kitchen out unless it comes with an event. In that case, the consideration is having the approved caterer list. Fred could be a consideration, but not necessarily, he may not wanna do all of those things as well. So that's the only thing. It would come with an event potentially, but not on its own. I wouldn't just want people using the kitchen without an event, right? Because we get calls for that. So I have had calls for memorial services. I've had calls for, exercise classes, programs, classrooms, people using it for their business purposes, and I have just put those off. I did give you a list of the things that I have done this year, which is pretty complete. I think I forgot Etrusco, I let them have a Christmas luncheon. But all of these organizations have had some affiliation with us and or the town. But possible future events, I guess we need to realize we did the Rotary Pancake Breakfast last August. It seemed the right thing at the time, and of course I want to come back this year. So that will be coming up soon enough. Many things, some are during the day. The other stipulation would be that for the most part, it's when we're not open that we could utilize the building for other services. For instance, the Garden Club may have wanted something that was a monthly meeting during the day, and I didn't feel like I could give that out, not knowing what we might have planned for the space. But in the evening, early evening after work, for those that's easy. So that's the proposal. The weekends, again, I don't know how much, but. Well.
Yeah, Karen?
Nancy, Linda. Nancy over there, thank you for putting this together. Couple of questions, just minor things. Well, one sort of a macro thing. So I don't, this maybe is from the right. The Maritime Center, there's no different rental rate for nonprofits versus profit, town,
Not for the Maritime Center.
not for the Maritime.
There's resident and non-resident rates, 600 for
Resident.
600 for non-residents, 450 for
And
residents.
that's mostly a party space. I can imagine this particular facility might attract a tax preparer that wants to give a seminar, which is a for-profit.
Mhm.
And it may also attract wedding, or, bridal showers, that sort of thing. So it would seem to me that it might be appropriate to have, two different rates. Obviously, if the Rotary or the Little League or some local business, or not business, nonprofit wants to host something and we can accommodate them, we don't want to discourage them from using the
Right.
facility, but,
We do have that with the Situate Harbor Community Building, we have a nonprofit.
okay. So we've invented
And
this
with that
before.
going away,
Yeah.
there's gonna be a need, just.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
because I would personally want to prioritize town,
Yes.
municipal, or community organizations.
And I hoped I said that in the introduction, that would be.
Yeah, but it should be reflected somehow in rates, I would think.
Okay. Well, I think I was considering really that the nonprofits might be no fee, but I don't know. Across the board, that would work or not, maybe there does need to be a stipulation.
There are costs, I mean, it's wear and tear in the building and there's your, staff and all of that, so, maybe it is a much lower, I think Lori can give you what the other buildings do as a guideline, I think they should be aligned to that as well. And then that was one of the other, there was just some little things in here just from others, in your furniture setup, you say that, you need to talk about it and all of that stuff, but, I think putting stronger language that says, if you move it, put it back.
Right.
Right, would be worthwhile to put in the policy.
What's there?
Well, it says that set up of table should be discussed and arranged beforehand as part of the use of premises.
Well, somewhere in the document I saw,
Oh, no,
I
I say
saw
as it,
that you must return it to state that it was in whatever the language was.
Oh, yeah, under condition,
Yeah.
And also that we wouldn't want other furniture brought in, we would use.
Okay.
Right,
yeah, I think you can be stronger in that.
okay.
That's all I have.
Yeah, I don't have a lot to add, I think that's a good idea, Karen. I think the one piece that we're gonna have to debate is kind of the hours of entertainment aspect of it.
Right.
I think you've been doing a good job, I agree with all the uses, if you have a community building and people should be able to use it, and as long as take care of it. And I know it's a lot of town meetings and there's pretty low key, I mean, we're not having problems there or bachelor parties or anything crazy like that. It's lower key activities, a Sally Garden Club making meetings, and, you know, some play the piano, that sort of stuff. So I think it's good. I think at some point we get paid. I mean, even the hours that you have here are pretty reasonable, 9 or 10 o'clock at night.
I did know potentially, I know 9 o'clock has been stipulated by the planning board, but with a special permit, if someone had a request to go to 10, would we then make that request either through you or?
Well, I think that's the question, who would be the permitting authority, I'm assuming it would be this board. But we only issue permits for liquor and catering for like the.
Well, that you'd have to decide because, you know, we don't do permitting for
Mhm.
events.
Right.
The only time we get a permit is a liquor license.
Or outdoor
Entertainment.
entertainment.
Or outdoor entertainment.
But not indoor, just outdoor?
Well, there's an annual indoor entertainment license that are provided to businesses and different groups in town. We do have indoor entertainment at the Situate Harbor Community Building that you don't need to approve. You know, all of the,
Well, it seems to me as though if there's indoor entertainment, I mean, I can't imagine we would have the senior center and not allow them to have music inside the building.
right,
There may be a musician coming to.
Right. I can say for our own purposes, not for outside use for that matter, we would want to have a dinner dance, we would want to have music for that. Whether it has to stop at 9 o'clock or can be a 10 o'clock activity, I think that's reasonable, but we would like to plan use of the patio space, let's say, it might be a community event, might have acoustic music, we've done it during the day.
that would be an outdoor
That
entertainment.
would be after, so then that would cover for you.
Or Tony?
No, I mean, I guess somebody asked the question, do we have an answer on that? I mean, would we want to be the board that makes those exceptions, or who else would do it?
Council on Aging.
Well, I would think this policy itself already
Right,
addresses some of that. If we approve their policy, and it includes parameters that we think are acceptable, we don't need to revisit them as long as they.
Right, so who says that you can have an exception to go to a 10?
Well, that's what we should decide, whether or not that should be at someone's discretion.
I think it should be the select board, only because it includes, you know, public noise issues and complaints like that, so it really should be us, not the council on aging, because they may not be as aware of some of those things like that.
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, I mean, I agree, that was one thing, and we wanted, and I know, do you want our edits or comments, because I think I'm in the entertainment paragraph, and it's sort of written that music played inside the building is not allowed after 10 p.m. if a special permission or permit has been granted, but, so we just need to change the grammar there.
Yes.
Because it's,
Oh, thanks.
yeah, it's just, but anyway, that's just one thing. So I agree with all that. The other thing that I think we need to think about as we review this are your definitions, because you use terms and I wanna make sure that you're protected.
Okay.
So if we're calling something a community nonprofit, or we're calling it a COA sponsored, or we're calling it town, right? Community veterans, town, what's the right? I think we need to be very clear on, in the document, what the definitions of those categories are. Or else it can get, it can cause problems for you, right? Cause then it takes away.
Well, it did with the
Maybe you-
parade, for instance, the parade committee I thought was town sponsored.
Right.
And, yeah, it's not town. And I agree with Tony and Karen as well, like at the schools, right, they charge a nominal, maybe it's $50, maybe it's $75 just for cleaning, upkeep, whatever that standard fee is then.
It's not nominal, if you ask me.
$50 an hour,
Yeah,
and a 2-hour minimum.
Whatever it
I'm
is,
just saying,
I'm just saying we need to put something in there that,
Which we have always absorbed. when
yeah,
we've
and
done
you
it,
shouldn't
but we
have
don't
to
use
for
those
outside groups.
Right.
Those are my
Well, even
observations.
town groups get charged to use the auditorium.
$500.
Yes, yes. We get charged, PTOs get charged to use the gyms for various events. I mean, the schools charge.
We use the Performing Arts Center and we're charged the $40 or $50 an hour for the custodian.
So we should put a schedule together for that as well.
With a minimum, I would think.
Yeah, I wanted to, I guess, echo what my colleagues have been saying a little bit as well, but I mean, again, this is the macro conversation of whether or not, going back to your definitions, I mean, I wouldn't envision a closed event, like a wedding reception, or something that's not open to the public, or like a fundraiser or something that's open versus totally private, let's be, as a use that we were, I don't think that was the vision originally. So I guess how we understand that, I think we have to really flush that out. What's closed event, what's an open event, I mean, all the ones you've had are garden club and Rotary.
Right.
You don't need to be a Rotarian.
You do not.
That's all.
I had that same thought when Tony brought up bachelor party, I was like, not really sure
Well, I'm
why.
sorry, even wedding showers and those
Right.
sorts of things, they're kind of,
I'm not sure it's the right
And
venue for that.
I wouldn't want our facilities to be competing with, to the extent.
No.
Harvard, the Maritime is a little different.
Yeah.
But, you know, to be competing with businesses that might be a venue for.
Oh, true,
Showers
at
and
a
things like
covering
that.
or, yes, good point. I hoped it would be to our discretion anyway, that some things would not seem appropriate for the space, and we would say that, or I would say that.
And I would even think memorial services might be a little bit, probably not.
Do you think?
I'm just saying, because most funerals are during the day, and unless it was on a weekend,
Right.
that you'd be conflicting with your own programming and all
And I
that.
would probably say no.
And that local businesses do get some business, unfortunately, from that
Okay.
type of situation. We'll just finish up here and then we'll take questions from you. Any other?
One, yeah, I think in redrafting, I think, you know, adding language that is very clear about things like use of site will be at the sole discretion of the council on aging, or however it comes out. Because you need to have language in there that protects you from those decisions and, or whatever it is. And, it gives you that protection too, if somebody does come in and, you know, somebody in this wild bachelor party.
All right, any more? Yes.
So I'm sorry for my ignorance on this, but is there a clear mission statement for the center itself, whether or not those events, at least, I'm trying to think of what you're saying, Carol, does this event adhere to kind of to that mission statement?
I would not say that, and off the top of my head, I wish I could tell you what our mission statement is. It is to serve the needs
Of the senior
of
community.
older population with program services. So,
Well, it's hard to say the pancake breakfast.
but I think, and I am saying our mission, I mean, I think our mission as a community resource broadens that a little bit, and we want to share sort of the joy of the building when we can. That doesn't necessarily make it the private events, but we also want it to be able to generate some value revenue, if that was important.
You could add something like that in that first paragraph, just there.
I think we do wanna try to spell out the type we want, so that we don't put Linda in the position of having, no, I'm not gonna let you, what, and all that, so we wanna spell out, this is copied obviously from the other facilities we have, this is a different facility. So I think we do wanna spell it out, but we did build the building with the thought that it would have some community uses in it. One of the reasons we put the kitchen in there, so, but one of the things I would talk too about is whether we wanna have a separate charge for the kitchen. So we charge for the room,
If
if you're gonna use the kitchen, we should charge for the kitchen, it's a beautiful kitchen.
Absolutely.
You know, I think most of the use we've had for the pancake breakfast, the veterans breakfast, things like that, it fit with what the board envisioned when when we were doing this, but I think those other things you were talking about, you know, renting it to someone because they want to have a yoga class in their business or private events. I think that's probably not a road we want to go down.
On the other hand, bachelorette parties are welcome at the golf course.
That's true. We do have that now.
I think the point is, it's not, we're not trying to make any profits of it. You know, we're trying to serve the community and the citizens.
Yeah.
So if there was, you know, an out of town, you know, person wanted to come and have an event or Gucci or some sort of celebration and work within the schedule, I think that would be reasonable, but it's not an every weekend event, party type thing.
So I should get more specific.
Yeah.
Specific, but also
Welcoming.
like you said, kind of, if you have a mission that kind of gives a general sense, then you can weigh events against that mission, which are community and service and senior driven.
So the board is satisfied. Ms. Burbine?
Amber Vine, 10 Hillcrest Road. One of the conditions for the permit, senior center, was that activities had to cease at 9 o'clock at night. And that was set up for the neighbors. And, you know, they're very, very close, they're concerned about lights, they're concerned about noise. And so that was a caveat to them, that at 9 o'clock, it's done. And I don't think that there was a plan when it went through the planning board to have weddings or any of those other things, whether you think that's appropriate or not. You know, I was there for a selectmen's meeting and certainly we were not charged for that, but I do know that you go to the high school and you're charged up to the zoo. But at any rate, I just wanted to bring up the point that the special permit says 9 o'clock.
So special, excuse me, I have it. I have the language right here. This is the planning board's conditions. Number 26, the normal operating hours of the senior center shall be 8:30 to 4:30, Monday through Friday. Hours of operation of the senior center shall not extend beyond 9 p.m. unless there is a special event which must be permitted for. That's
Which
the
is why-
language, okay.
So why I think those requests to go past 9 should come back here,
Yes,
because it's a public meeting,
Correct.
public notice,
right,
and then people can say, hey, wait a second, this is the fifth one of these in 2 weeks.
right. Yeah. So I think that is, that I knew when I read this that the planning board was definitely responding to the neighbors, rightly so. But they did add that one, you know, caveat after, which then gives this board, I think, the authority to decide if an event is allowed to go past 9.
You all should decide that
Right.
with public notification.
Well, we do special permits and abutters come in, and I don't know how complicated this is gonna have to get, but.
There is some confusion because of what was reported about the dinner for the French Sister City, which is only till 8 p.m., but because of the way the liquor license application reads, I guess the language is 4 hours. So it then said 6 to 10. Some people, but it wasn't the case, right? Thank you.
Well, I think this board listens to neighbors all the time, and, you know, we try to take them all into account. But, the condition did not say 9 o'clock, no, other way. Anybody else? Yes, ma'am?
Susanna Green, 337 First Parish Road. I had a couple questions. So for the building use, who's in charge of, you know, approving events taking place? Is it Linda or is it the COA committee?
No.
I was just asking,
there isn't a
because in
COA
February,
committee.
there was some discussion back and forth about what it should be, so I was just trying to clarify that.
There isn't a COA committee.
Oh,
You mean the Council on Aging Board of Directors?
The director,
No,
yeah.
they don't.
No, so just you. Okay.
But I think, Suzanne, the key will be to craft the use policy, so it's kind of known who can use the building and who can't. Not put Linda on the spot, but I don't see how this fits it up.
Right, yeah, I mean, cause definitely have, I mean, again, town-sponsored groups and all that, yeah, fine. Again, talking about weddings and other, that private type, you know, events, that's a big concern.
Well, I think you
yeah.
might have heard tonight that
Yeah.
we're not inclined to do that.
I guess my other question would be, since there is a very large room that is available, you know, for rent, you know, 160 people capacity, we've got 70 parking spaces. Will there be a procedure in place for people to register for events so that there is a known number of people coming? Because if there is a parking problem or a traffic, you know, potential traffic problem, will be something put in place. Again, where you have to talk to recreation, to use their, you know, stuff like that, because again, you've got, depending on the day or the time, you've got sports going on, there's people parked all over the place. You know, just to make sure that whatever happens, you know, there's actually a number, you know, accounted for and not just whoever shows up. I mean,
Have you ever
you
get
know.
people try to RSVP these days? It's
I
pretty
know.
tough.
I know, I guess, I mean, from what I heard, that art event was pretty crazy with the parking.
Which event?
When they had the art event, there was a lot of people showed up for that.
Lunch can be crazy
I-
for parking, I mean, that's a park down.
We're working
Harvard.
on that.
Yeah.
I don't know what our event, it's a program at the senior center.
Install the parking spaces once a month.
Yeah, I guess the answer to that is if it was a formal event, then there would be an RSVP for the dinner. Something like the pancake breakfast is kind of a rolling, so people are in and out, it's not $160 a month, so it really depends upon the event. There will be events where they'll have to limit participation because it's gonna be a sit-down dinner and there's only X number of seats. So I don't have an answer for you, so it really depends on the event.
Yeah, you know, just curious because where, you know, I'm seeing events, you know, sponsored on Facebook and people are saying, oh, how do I register? You don't have to. It's like, well, you know, what if a lot of people show up? You know, just thinking ahead for, you know, as it gets more use and, you know, more people come, just to make sure that, you know, there's some sort of, you know, hopefully control numbers to plan ahead for any parking or traffic issues.
We do that, I mean, there is extra parking that we have access to, there is parking across the street at Central
Right,
Drive as well. And that is also stipulated in this document, that if there's a need for police, then there will be that.
Right,
Maybe they need
Yeah.
permission to use the
They are
recreation.
supposed to coordinate with recreation. So if there's, you know, junior lacrosse tournament that day, there really should be something.
But I think like we do at the Maritime Center in the Citrus Harbor Community Building, we could add a number of attendees on the application, because you should know that.
And I guess, just two quick things, again, if there's music inside, I mean, I don't care if it's not loud. I guess just to make sure that, you know, people aren't opening windows and, you know, that there's some sort of stipulation to, you know, not wander the building and, you know, open things up, is sort of just one concern. And then I just wanted to point out, looking at this, since I know you were finding it anyway, I just noticed that some of the capacities for people in the rooms differs on the 2 pages, there's just a couple of things you might want to just double check.
Okay.
That's it.
Good,
Thank you.
All right, I think they're trying very hard to be good neighbors.
Oh, yeah, I mean, I'm, you know, I just, you know, I'm right there,
Yeah.
my bedroom's there, so
Yeah.
of course, you know,
Well, if
just
the
wanna make
light,
sure.
if the light from the
Yeah.
building on the side that you face is bothering you, I mean,
Yes,
and maybe, well, if you let me finish, within the building, they maybe could put the shades down at night so that if they're, I mean, it could be that simple.
We do.
Yeah,
Okay,
I mean,
all
the
right.
problem is they're see-through, so they don't,
All right.
they help, but they're pretty thin.
All right.
Yeah, it's really, it's the porch and parking lot lights, which are a work in progress still right now, so.
It's still a pretty new building, so hopefully we'll keep working.
Yeah.
Karen, you gonna?
No, everybody else will go.
Anyone else? All right, so, I think we might be asking you to make a few modifications and come back for an approval.
Okay.
Does that seem right? Is that the sense of the board?
Great start.
All right, thank you,
That's-
thank you, Linda.
I appreciate it, thank you very much.
So,
What's
Beef stroganoff.
Oh, well, now that you're here, and people have been not complaining,
Yes.
but observing that sometimes Situate people can't get into the senior center for lunches because word has spread far and wide. You can get a great lunch for $5.
Oh, really?
Oh, we had people literally, they get sold out, and Situate people get.
They do call and come from other towns, they do.
So is there some way to prioritize Situate people, to like open it up? I don't know how you do the reservations, but if you open it up one day, the first day is Situate only can, and then the next day you can open it up. I'm just,
I know.
it's the Situate
Think
Senior
about a way
Center,
to do
so,
it.
yeah,
She's working on it.
Yeah.
She's aware of it.
well, it's a great problem to have.
We
Testament
haven't
to the
restricted before for anything, and of course now we're just seeing the need to try to figure that out.
Yeah, it's very popular, so that's a great thing.
Monday's meat,
What?
Monday's meatloaf,
That's his
Legal
favorite.
Monday.
makes a good meatloaf.
I will.
Thank you.
It's hard to find
Very
good
much.
meatloaf.
Okay. It is 7:35. Discuss public hearing, yes. Public hearing to discuss vote transfer of all alcohol restaurant liquor license from Widow's Walk to the Drift Inn, it's very clever, Inc. Mick Carlisle owner. And we're also discussing the common vic license and the, discuss vote the entertainment permit. So, Mr. Carlisle? I was hoping that was you.
And we have Arlene here too.
Okay, I thought that much. Every time I assume I know somebody, it turns out I don't, so.
Don't worry.
So,
How are you?
You're Arlene, good, thank you. So this is about the golf course.
Yes.
Restaurant, yes, welcome, we're happy to have you here. So does the board want to start with any questions?
We're just really excited that the Drift Inn, also very clever name, is going to be operating catering there, and the paperwork is in order, and obviously we have your reputation of managing the Iberian retail, which is a great help as well, because we know how seriously we take the serving of alcohol in the community. I think seriously, the biggest question I have is how soon are you guys gonna be open?
Never comes in.
Yeah.
Just basically waiting on refrigeration.
Oh, that's
So,
So it takes a long
hopefully, at the latest, at the end of the start of third week of May.
It's just that the sound should be in this week's TVs, and we don't even have the computer system, and that was already a month ago. And also-
36 weeks.
Yeah, and the refrigeration, the town originally was getting it, and then when we come in, so yeah, it's all right, for the beginning of July. So we had to take that, because we knew the people, they're getting it into us as quick as possible.
Okay.
Yeah, just waiting on it, so.
I'm sure you're not the only ones.
No, we actually ordered stuff for the Hibernian throughout the back for walk-in coolers. It was a 6-month wait, to 8-month wait. So to get them in 6 to 8 weeks is really good.
That's basically all we're waiting. We have the staff and everything is waiting. Hopefully they don't go somewhere else because we can't give them a definite date. We just keep saying, please stay.
We're approving some food trucks tonight, so maybe we'll have to down to the golf course. Any other questions?
I have one, sorry. Are the hours the same as were previous, where we always open till 1 AM?
No, the previous was just a golf course, snack bar basically. And this is seen more as a restaurant at the conference, I think for better way of putting it. So this is more restaurant hours than it was.
So these are consistent with your hours down in Iberia?
Yeah.
And these are consistent with all the
Rivershed,
restaurant hours,
or
including
everybody else?
Rivershed, yes,
Okay.
we checked all that.
Yeah, I'm just gonna piggyback on what Karen said, and I know you probably got this spiel from us when you came the first time, but it's a little bit of a different venue, so you have to be a little bit more conscious of the alcohol. You've got underage kids playing golf, and you've got a golf cart, you've got all that stuff going on. You know, we do take it serious. If there's violations, the guidelines are pretty strong penalties. So I know you pay attention where you are now, but it isn't quite the same venue, so somehow just, you know, get your arms around the fact that you're gonna have underage people there enjoying the golf course, and we don't want any, and neither do you, we get it, but it is very seriously taken, and the penalties are pretty hard, so, you know, make sure you take the extra steps. Are you gonna have the carding system?
Yes, we will have a system, and, you know, I have 3 kids that I know what we did.
Yeah.
So, plus, I ran 7 restaurants and nightclubs in Boston, and I think I was on the board once for 7 nightclubs. That's not bad. So we do take it very, very serious, and we will take it very, very serious.
Yeah, we've all been in your restaurant now, we have confidence in that, but again, it just needs to be stated, so there's no surprises, because stuff happens, and, you know, just be proactive about it, because it is a different venue.
Yeah.
And, you know, we're really excited about it. We like the fact that it's not gonna be the situation that it was before, where, like Jim said, it was just a place to get lunch in between your round. You know, we're excited with the fact that it's gonna be golf during the day, a nice restaurant at night, and it's a great venue. It looks beautiful, it was built, you know, you're getting it brand new, so we have a lot of high expectations for this. Right. Good luck.
Nope. Can I ask you a question?
Well, I do have an issue to bring up. I've received calls and emails from the people who are in the Fairway Village. They've had problems around the 5th hole. And they have.
Okay, no,
Yeah, and, you know, they live on a golf course, so you have to expect certain things if you live on a golf course. But one issue they've got, and I honestly didn't know, that we've had a cart serving alcoholic beverages for what, 20 years or something? I'm not a golfer, so I feel like, well, I don't even know why you need it, but, so what I would like to ask, if it could be considered, that we limit the cart to past that 5th hole. So you'd be able to have alcohol from the 5th hole all the way back in to the 18th hole, but just stop it. So it's not at the 5th hole.
May I ask, what's the difference in the 5th hole and the 6th hole? What's the difference? I don't know the whole course.
It's where they are.
You're asking us to talk about it.
Yes, yes.
It'll put a lot of houses right at the back there.
Oh,
So they're probably coming up to the tee and they're going to Cheltenham. So sometimes they probably think by the time they get to the 5th hole, they've had enough. I can understand that. You know, the one thing we're going to be trying to be very strict on is bringing alcohol onto the course.
Yes.
You don't want that.
yes.
I agree. I mean, you don't want people with coolers and then you've got all close
And
to
we've
other
already
problems.
spoken to Ian about it, and he's on the same boat, so we're gonna try and limit it, make this going on. The girls that we have, we're gonna train, and also if they do see some sort of group that, you know, just like us, just got to come in, just, you know, keep going on your way.
Well, I know Ian's been trying to work to make sure, especially around that 5th hole.
Yeah.
I mean, the town put up a brand new net to try to deal with the golf balls.
Yeah.
The town has had the golf course put up signs, please be aware we have neighbors. I know that the starters talk to people if they think they might be, you know, gonna have, you know, to be aware that there are neighbors in that area, and that's where we do get some of the complaints. And they do hear people, and it didn't occur to me until after someone explained to me that they're swearing, I'm like, right, they're playing golf and they hit a bad shot. So, but I think it's just my opinion, that if we could keep the alcohol cart past that hole, I don't think anyone is gonna die if they want to have a drink between the 1st hole and the 5th hole.
Yeah.
No, we work with Ian, and, you know, he's going to, we'll be going back and forth all the time.
Yeah,
You know, we're gonna try our best to do the best. So.
I think the biggest issue is people bringing their own alcohol.
Yeah,
into the course, not regulated.
Right.
So I think that's not gonna happen. I mean, they park their car at a place and they don't really drive
Do we have
around
a
much.
vote yet?
No, this is my opinion.
Thank you.
What, do you wanna ask them if they'll do what you're saying?
No, I do.
Okay. This is my opinion.
Okay, go ahead.
So what they typically do is they park the car at an area and they don't necessarily drive around the course all that much. There's an intersection that hits about 6 of the holes between 3, 4, 11, 12, and 15 and 16. There's an area that they generally park and they just sit there. And they let people kind of come to them and they don't drive around that much. It'd be very difficult to say, okay, you can't have anything till you pass this house. And I don't think that's necessarily the right thing to do. It would be, because of the noise, you're talking about over-serving is what the letter kind of insinuated, not serving, period. So I don't know, I think it's, I think if the group does a good job monitoring who drinks and how much they drink, then that will be a limitation in terms of the issues that they're having. But to say that you're not gonna go on the course until you get over to this hole, I don't think is really the right solution.
Do you say that they group per certain area and just not be able to, like the steward and stuff like that, say, hey, come on guys, we have to monitor that somehow, because you can't do that, especially on a golf course. If you're in the middle of the valley, you're just sitting there having a drink.
No, I'm sorry, the beer cart.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, it's not a cafe.
There's one part of the course where there's about
There's the
4 or
most
5 holes and all
Yeah,
kind of,
you just don't serve at the foot.
and they kind of sit there, but that's past the 5th hole anyway. That's
Yeah, but
7,
it,
8,
but it does kind of
14,
hit a
15,
hole,
16.
it does kind of hit a hole beforehand also, so it's, it'd be difficult with that, where they don't try and drive around so much and, when you're sitting someplace, you only have limited opportunities to get a drink. Every so many holes, as opposed to the cart person driving around and serving you 10 times during a day.
The car person only told, she has to drive around. There's no stop.
Well, that's not what they've done historically, so you can,
Make sure.
yeah.
We'd be, as I said, we'd be sitting waiting all the time, like probably have a meeting once a week, or something like that, so all of us, if there's any problems, we have problems, he has problems, we want to discuss it, we want to work it out, we're not even here just to make it short, we want to be there for a long time, and right now, the situation's been great to us, and we just want to keep going.
Yeah, I think what we're trying to do is accommodate a couple of neighbors that are on the school list. And it seems like it's more noise related and balls related than necessarily drinking related is their issue.
Well, people tend to get noisier as they drink, that's all. Okay. All right, we hear what you have to say. Anyone else?
Well, just listening to both of you, I think it's feasible to just drive by the 5th. I wouldn't prohibit it from 1 to 4 or whatever, but just stay away from that area. I think they seem to understand it.
Well, it's a combination thing also, on the busy days, the ranger has to be in that area, making sure that he's keeping the noise down for the golfers.
Yeah.
So it's a whole combination of things.
Okay. Thank you.
Well, it sounds like this is more of a golf course management issue than it is a liquor license issue. So, but I will strongly suggest that
No,
fifth
we-
hole.
Yeah, we talked.
So,
We deal with that.
Yeah, and he's dealing with it in terms of the other things that happen to that property. Golf balls going over the net and, the noise stuff.
I have a motion.
Sure. Move to approve a transfer of all alcohol restaurant liquor license to the Drift Inn Incorporated, doing business as the Drift Inn, located at Whittles Walk, 250 the Driftway, with hours of operation Monday through Thursday, 11 a.m. to 10:30 p.m., Friday and Saturday, 9 a.m. to 1 a.m., and Sunday, 10 a.m. to 1 a.m., contingent upon Board of Health and ABCC approval.
Second by Mr. Goodrich, all in favor?
Aye.
5-0 motion carries. Next is the common victual license. Any questions? No, just rolling on here.
Got it. Move to approve a common viculars license to the Drift Inn Incorporated, doing business as the Drift Inn located at Widows Walk 250 The Driftway, pending Board of Health approval.
Second by Ms. Canfield, all in favor?
Aye.
5-0 motion carries, yes, thank you.
Move to approve an annual indoor entertainment license to the Drift Inn Incorporated, doing business as the Drift Inn located at Widows Walk 250 The Driftway, with hours Friday through Sunday from 11 a.m. to 12 a.m. for a singer and a 3-piece band.
Second.
Discussion, do we want to be that specific?
Yeah, don't we either say acoustic or?
Amplified.
Yeah, there's 5 or 6 things. DJ. I gave all the information to Michelle, I didn't speak with you directly, but
I don't think it should be so specific.
we are usually very specific.
Really?
You know, they're saying that they want a 3-piece band.
How
I think
about up to
band
a
would
3?
be-
Yeah.
I mean, I agree with more of the.
Yeah, up to a
What if it's a
3-piece
singer and
band.
guitar, he can't go, I know. So, just wanna give them some.
I mean, the Rivershed.
A couple guys still or something.
Yeah, I know.
I think the Rivershed, for example, is up to a 3-piece band.
Just change that up to a 3-piece.
Up to, okay, let's say up to, yeah, it's very specific.
Unless
Sunday
it's
from-
Aerosmith can play that they.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just, you know, from 11 a.m. to 12 a.m. for a singer and up to a 3-piece band.
Second.
Second
Second by
by
Ms. Canfield, all in favor?
Aye.
5-0 motion carries. Thank you.
Much effort.
That's
That's
really
really
good.
good.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. The dance floor then?
It is dancing. Can't wait to go.
See you soon.
Hopefully that refrigerator comes in. I know, well, hopefully we'll live in peace. Yes.
Ready to roll.
Good luck. Thank you very much.
It's a little past 7:45 and we have a special presentation. If I can get the board's attention.
Sorry, Madam Chair.
All right. You all ready?
I'm not sorry.
I know you're not. Updates. Situate Freedom Team, Janelle Adams, Director of Diversity, Equity and Inclusion, Situate Public Schools. I'd like to welcome Janelle. As many of you may know, we have a diversity director in Situate Public Schools. He's been with us for about a year. He's been working very hard, especially with the school population, but this is a bigger topic than just the school population. So I know Maura's been working with the Diversity and Equity Committee on the town side, and there have been discussions about something called the Freedom Team. So we've asked Janelle to come in and explain what the Freedom Team is specifically, and to introduce himself to the wider community, because if you're in the school community, you know who he is, but if you're in the wider community, you may not. So with that, Janelle, would you like to
So,
tell us who you are?
of course, so this is Jamil. Good to meet folks. How you doing? Good to see folks back there. I'm gonna have to make it to the Drift Inn. I've never been there.
Not open.
Before.
It's not open.
Oh, okay. Folks say it's been to the restaurant and stuff, so I don't know, but
Yeah,
it's like it might be something to get to. And to the folks tuning in, good to see you. Jamil Adams, I've been with the Situate Public Schools district for almost this week is almost a year specifically. And it's been a fantastic, warmly absorbed opportunity in connection with the community, with the families, friends, different businesses, all the folks that create the district and make it rotate, and Earthquake, students, the staff, the educators, everyone. So it's been phenomenal in terms of that experience. All of the organizations that I get to connect with have been great. All of the folks that keep the community going and safe and protected, it's been fantastic there. And so as the DEI director for the district, at the end of the day, I like to share with people that my role is to do as much as possible to continue bringing folks together. And that's what we've been doing. There's nothing that I do, it's always we. That's my thing, it's always we, never me. And I represent a whole bunch of people and a whole lot of energy today. I exist here in this moment because of my connection with Jim and through the Freedom Team and other folks as well. And more on this, seeing folks like that. So it's just been a great opportunity to continuously connect with people and just add on to that which is already situated. I'm from New York City, so congratulations to the folks that are Boston Celtics fans. Although I'm a Knicks fan, not the Nets fan, I'm a Knicks fan. I'm also a Jets fan, so I'll hold that against you.
No, we gotta have something below for the division still.
And I was in higher education for 26 years. I was at Brandeis University, where I served as the Dean of Students there. And here lovingly and fondly as the DI Director here in Citrus Public Schools. I've had the pleasure of just now returning from an event in the town at the Citrus Public Library, where we did open expression evening, and folks were there just expressing themselves, meaning folks, we had some students who commented, we had some students doing poems, we had some parents and community members write a haiku on the fly based on the energy they felt. It was all positive, it was all great, and a great opportunity to bring folks together. So this was the only one we did now, but we'll continue the series once the new academic year begins. Prior to that, we did what was called LIT, Community Conversations, where LIT is an acronym that stands for Love, Inclusion, and Trust. And we did a conversation based on Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s letter from Birmingham jail. And that was warmly received as well. So we'll continue to do those every other month. And we'll have our next installation next week. So that's just a little bit. I'm a father, I'm a son. We have 4 children. Let's see. I live in Franklin. I appreciate the commute. Just found out I take time. And I don't know, that's just a little bit. I spend time every day respectively in all the schools in our district. And I have the fortune of being able to connect with different groups in our community as well that are all connected in some way, shape, or form to doing something connected to bringing folks together in regards to equity. So that's just a little bit about myself. The Freedom Team is the result of wanting to have something in place that is ready to respond to, if necessary, any acts of hate or bias in our community. By the mission, the Freedom Team is the mission of the Freedom Team. Citrus Freedom Team is to preserve freedom through unity in the community based in love, inclusion, and trust. The Citrus Freedom Team is proactive, reactive, and retroactive in efforts to bring people together while addressing and eradicating hate and bias. And by those methods, we stand to be the love that hate can't stop. This team is based on a communal development model, a 10-point communal development model, which includes students, parents, a representative from the district, the chief of police, someone who represents the town, also someone, a clinician who does clinical work based on from a trauma-informed lens. Also, someone who is connected to the different faith backgrounds in the community. Someone that is able to do restorative justice and transformative justice training if necessary. Someone who can navigate social media, and a lawyer, someone who's familiar with the law as well. And with those 10 points of connection gathered, there's no part of our community that we should not be able to connect with if we ever need to. The team meets monthly, and in a shocking turn of events, we meet at 8 a.m. And that's the time that folks choose. And so it works out for folks. So we have been meeting virtually. There's also a telephone hotline that's connected to the team. There is an email address that's connected to it, and a web address that's being constructed. The phone line is monitored by a member of the team, but is ultimately defaulted and connected to the chief of police. As in the event that if a crime is reported or shared, that is appropriately followed up upon. The Freedom Team is not a supplement to the authorities and those that keep us safe and moving. It is a complement to all other organizations in our community. The Freedom Team also doesn't cost anything in order for it to run. Nobody's paid, and all of the services and benefits of it, again, are free of charge. The other piece is that Citrus now joins 6 other Freedom Teams that exist throughout Massachusetts, and those other towns include Waltham, Wellesley, Natick, Hopkinton, Franklin, and Walpole just joined. And I think coming up very soon after that will be, I'll hold on to it, so I haven't done. Maybe one more team that joined, so we'll probably be at 8 and potentially actually 9 within the next month or two. And so this came about, the development of the team, the idea itself. This came from trying to figure out how folks will pull the town, well, the city of Baltimore back together after the death of Freddie Gray. As many of us watch CNN and whatever news source we have is seeing that city just being destroyed. I was thinking to myself, who's gonna bring those folks back together? Who's needed to do that? And if that happened here, at the time we lived in Natick, I was trying to figure out how we'll bring folks together, who will we need to do that? And that's what evolved to what is now the 10-point development engagement plan, sorry. And it's just been really effective, and it's been warmly received. And I've never run into a person who said no to its existence or anyone that was asked to be involved. And this week, we're in the process of rolling it out and introducing ourselves to the community, for which this is one of those opportunities. So thank you folks for allowing us to happen. There'll be something that will show up in the Mariner pretty soon, and then there'll also be an announcement that will play at the high school at some point soon. So that's the situation.
That's great, that's great. I understand that you work with the diversity and equity town committee, which is, it's good to pull everyone together.
I hang with what our folks from the SDIC.
That's good. That's good. Questions from the board? Comments? Laura, did you want to start as our liaison or?
Sure, I'll take one question I think will help people. Thanks, Jamil. It's good to see you in person.
It's surreal, right?
I know, like, wait a minute.
You can see people like that.
I know, you just put that flat screen thing away and give some dimension. Can you explain and give an example when somebody would actually call the Freedom Team? Is it initiated at the police level, or is it a resident, or?
This would be the most utilized way of folks contacting the Freedom Team is word of mouth advice to someone that they know is on the team. The phone, in the number of years that it has existed, it's going on 8 years at this point, the phone has been the vehicle for contacting any one of the teams, I want to say twice. The email has been used for folks who want to get involved, but not to report anything. Most of the time it's going to be through word of mouth. Some examples of the Freedom Team being asked to hear something and play a role are, in one situation, there were folks that worked at a supermarket in a community, and there was a report that folks felt that if they were to speak another language in that supermarket, that they would be fired or lose hours of work. And so in that situation, the town representative, who in that town is actually the mayor, was able to connect with the owner of the supermarket, and they were able to amicably just address that and just kind of actually just dismiss the myth of that. And other proactive measures, there were opportunities where we were part of a panel where folks were talking about how to have conversations with little people regarding bringing folks together and equity. We've also, in a time where folks were not speaking due to politics, the team was proactive, and we just had to come and talk to someone kind of thing in the town center, in another town. And interestingly enough, in that situation, wasn't quite sure I was going to work out with myself as a black male, but I wore my Yankee hat as well. And that turned out to be the talking point that got most things started. So those are just some proactive examples. There are some times when we learn about things that may have impacted the school and other communities, and we were able to make sure that the proper folks in the high school were aware of how to, just to know what was going on and they can do things to do. An example of the network working is that about 2 years ago, the death of Michaela Bryant in Hopkinton had folks feeling a number of ways about how that happened. And the Freedom Team there was called upon to just kind of be of assistance in leading to some place that could get to healing. And I believe that they did a great job in doing that. And in that situation where folks in the community were calling for some response to the attorney there, and the chief of police being a part of that team, I think that he was really valiant and courageous in working with the team to make sure that he was able to answer questions and not be in the way of the team to get folks together. And then on top of that, that team connected with the community teams from Franklin and Natick to assist in brainstorming some ideas to continue to bring folks together. On the heels of that, a clinician from the Franklin Freedom team offered a workshop on how to navigate community trauma to anyone who wants to come from other freedom teams. And all this is all free across the community. So those are just some examples of how the team has been helpful and effective. So that's a little bit more than,
No, that's perfect. So
Yeah,
I think
okay.
people really want to understand how
Yeah.
it's used. Thank you.
Well, learning about this is it's wonderful. I'd love to know a little more about how, in your experience, you've been talking about being proactive versus kind of reactive, and kind of how do you kind of prioritize being proactive versus kind of reactive to some incident that happens? And do you have anything you kind of learned from some of those incidents that have happened possibly elsewhere, to kind of shed light on kind of the operating procedure, how to kind of move forward, kind of help the community talk about it and
Absolutely, there's several cases that come to mind, and I'll share maybe two quickly. One is, we wanted folks to have an opportunity to talk about the recent, but there was conversation about legislation connected to the LGBTQIA+ community. And folks did have an opportunity to talk about it and share about it. Another thing about the freedom team is nonpartisan. So it's not connected one way or the other or that way. We just we want to bring people together. And again, we just want to be proactive against hate and bias. And so we provided an opportunity for folks to come and have a conversation about it. And we moderated that conversation. And it was a wonderful opportunity. So that was some things were going on in the community, in the world, and current events were happening. And so we provided an outlet for folks to have that conversation. There was a number of students in one community that wanted to have an opportunity to just share and discuss what was happening to them. And in that situation, one of the things that team did was get together and work with the local theater and was able to create a evening of open mic poetry. And so folks were able to go there and share some poetry relative to who they are and just their identities and things like that. It was just really, it was positive. The energy was great. And it led to folks want to do it again and again and again. And actually some of the folks that were involved with that continue to organize it. And with the support of the actual school and administration, they put on a whole peace conference that took place student run. So that was fantastic. So those are just two examples, but there definitely are more.
Yeah, I think it was great, I think we've done great things,
It's we always do it,
Right,
never just me.
You're a big part of it. I guess my question would be, how do you get this out so that the public actually knows it exists and that there's a channel for them to, for the people that need this service is the wrong word, but this activity or this outlet?
Yeah.
What's your kind of?
So the beauty of the team is it works because people know the people that are on the team. And it's not some secret, again, it's not partisan and folks know who we are. This is one of those ways that we'll let folks know. Being here, we'll at the SDEIC meetings, and at the library, folks will know because we'll share it there. Like as I mentioned, there will be something that goes into the Mariner, and folks will know there, and then there'll be word of mouth, and folks will know that. And at some point, now that we officially unveiled ourselves, because we took some time, a couple months to get to this place to make sure we had a team together. And we'll, next we'll probably figure out, is there something that we want to do that is an event that we can invite folks to or something like that, and then folks will know a little bit more about our existence and who we are. And so those are some of the ways that the word gets out about the same.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing I'd recommend is, we do have cable television and Seth is always looking for topics to report on, so if you think that's a good channel.
And I like Seth, I hear his voice all the time on the Zooms, and Seth is a good guy, so absolutely.
Well, now you mentioned to Jamel earlier today that the senior center would be a great place for them to be able to, go and speak to the senior population, and they're always interested in what's going on in town, so.
No, absolutely, we look forward to doing it. And the people who are on the team are some incredible members of our community, and they've been really, really instrumental in making this thing happen. Marketing chief, great, fantastic, and Jim from the beginning was like, all right, we can do it, let's go. And everyone that I connected with has just been really on board with just making this happen and be successful. So I'm appreciative of this becoming a week opportunity.
Ms. Canfield, last but not least.
Last but not least, so good to see you not in a little box. That's great, so nice to see you. Thank you so much for your leadership on this, because when the DEI was formed now, a year and a half ago, I think you synthesized some of the things we were trying to get to in this, in addressing if something came up. We're not just running around going, how do we do this? So that is very helpful, and so the whole team, thank you. My only question is, so are you our town rep, or Freedom too? You are? Okay. So
I'm the rep for the district.
this school, okay, great. Well, I know that we'll do what we can to get the word out, because you're absolutely right, to have a place that folks can feel comfortable if they want to have their concerns brought to someone. I think it's great that I'm delighted to hear this is up and running, so let us know how we can help spread the word, and if something comes up, I'm glad that we know where to turn to for supporting everybody, so.
Thank you, this is great. I mean, these are folks who agree that if something happens in our community, instead of trying to figure out who to call, who to contact, this is a group of people who willingly accept the opportunity to help the community in that situation. So we look forward to it. It is fantastic. There's no no term limit, so to speak, on how long folks are on the team. The turnover usually happens with students as they graduate, things like that. So, but it really is great.
Well, I think it's important, there doesn't appear to be some hierarchy. So if you
Absolutely.
know someone on the committee, and there are 10 people, chances are good you're gonna know someone. And if you have a concern, you call that person. And I would be remiss if I didn't recognize Tom Secor, who is the chair of our Diversity, Equity, Inclusion Committee on the town side. You guys have done great work, and I know Maura's always in touch with you and keeping things moving, but we all appreciate it. If you have time, check out some of these meetings, very interesting conversations.
Tom, the more we hang out, Tom, when we do those Zoom meetings, so it's just good. And again, the team is.
Keeps it moving.
Yeah, the team, the Freedom team is all equals. No one is like the leader of it. There's someone who reminds us that we have a meeting, but everyone is there as equals.
So, any questions from anyone else or anyone in the audience? Well, I thank you so much for coming in, we appreciate it greatly, we appreciate, now you've got to turn around and go back to Franklin.
Yeah.
No easy way to get there from here.
No traffic.
And it's fun. Yeah, absolutely, no traffic this time.
That's a good thing. All right, thanks very
Thank you,
much.
thank you, everybody.
Have a good
Thank you,
night.
thank you.
Keep every word out.
Thank you for reminding me about that.
So I know we're a little behind, but we have 8 o'clock, it's 8:15. Discuss vote new hawker peddler license for the dinghy, Catherine Neal. Catherine Catherine, are you Catherine, are you?
Kate.
Kate?
Yeah.
Whatever you wanna call it.
Not Katie. Katie, yeah, whatever you wanna call it.
So you wanna tell us about, this is a new business, I
Yes,
assume, yes.
it is a new business opportunity. I wanted to start a food truck. I'm from Situate. I grew up in Situate. I graduated from Situate High. So I think that bringing this food truck is something new to the community. It's like servicing Situate. I think it's something that's needed and, there's ice cream trucks everywhere and there's, the brick and mortars, but I think bringing something new and fun and Situate needs a food truck. So, and I've been in the industry for quite a while. I'm managing Core in Norwell for the past 4 years, so I know the industry in and out, so.
So you get up early.
Yeah, I get up really early, so I think it'd be a great addition.
Very good, I like the name,
Good thing, thank you, yeah, coastal town, I thought it fit.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So, questions from the board?
No, I mean, this could be one of the most exciting, I would just love hearing new businesses and people, what's the old cliche, where you can be any bank for like 18 years old with your $100,000 and you just do that, you're starting a business, how tough is that? We'll give you 10,000.
Right.
It's so hard to start your own business. And I just give you so much credit for just even, for trying, it's fabulous. And so I just wanted to let you know that it's
Thank you,
really
I appreciate that. It is very hard work and I'm learning that now. But thank you.
That's why you're young.
Gotta do it now.
More?
Could you just give the public and ourselves a little bit of a flavor of what your truck, I know it says sandwiches and paninis.
Yeah, so
What do you specialize in?
Yeah, so it's just gonna be like breakfast sandwiches, lunch sandwiches, paninis, I'm gonna have some salad, I wanna do some iced coffee only, just cause it's seasonal, I don't think people really want some hot coffee. And then little like pastries and goodies like that, I don't wanna be in competition of like the ice cream trucks or anything. So just like, probably like some muffins and little pastries, but nothing like too big, I'm not gonna have a fryer later, so nothing fried. Yeah, I'm keeping it simple, again, my first truck, so we'll wait for that, something, keep it simple this year, so yeah, it's very simple, I'm not gonna have any sodas or anything, it's just like waters, coffees, juices and stuff like that.
And you'll be making the food right there in the truck?
Yes,
Right,
correct.
okay.
That's a challenge. Tony?
Yeah, great idea, good luck.
Thank you.
One thing just to pay attention to is we do have some bylaws about where you can sit, how long you can stay there. I don't know if you had years ago, we had many people trying to do this, actually said they were trying to do it and didn't. And we kind of had to say, okay, you can go in this area, you can go in this area. Do you have a sense in terms of where you want to locate yourself? Are you even driving around and what's your idea?
So I plan to be driving around mostly because it's not like a trailer or anything, it's like mobile, so I can kind of get the feel for the first couple weeks, see where is like the most popular locations are, like if it's 11 to 1 is it's really popular at the Lighthouse, and then you go to Peggotty and you sit there for a little, and then you go around, you kind of go to Egypt and then mine it and circle around, but I understand like the parking is really important at the beaches, of course. So I want to make sure that I am not taking up too many parking spots. So I've scouted out around the little places and like the after the non-sticker requirement parking spots, like in Peggotty, there's like a little nook right there that I'm thinking I can hang out at for a little. But again, because it's mobile, I don't plan on staying for longer than 2 hours at a location, unless it's busy.
So and I think that's great, so your goal is to go to the beach part and get on lunch.
correct.
But one thing that this bylaw is in place for is because you can't be within, it's 300 feet
300, yeah.
from other people, so like you can't park in front of Maria's and say,
Yeah.
buy yourselves here, that sort of stuff. And that's some of the pushback we've gotten back over the years with some people that have done this, but I don't, is there a 15-minute parking rule?
Without permission from the board.
Without, okay, yeah, so that'll be the, that's just what we need to come to grips with and, going here and then make sure you're moving and not just being,
That seems really short, 15 minutes.
It was mostly geared toward the ice cream.
Yeah, I was gonna say, she can barely open up her thing and get it going in 10 minutes, so.
Yeah, I mean, that's the bylaw, so we can make an exception for it, but gonna get pushback from the restaurants, like if you go to Hummerock's, Sands, what's it,
Sands Camp.
Sands,
Oh, no,
No,
the voyage.
no, the old Sand. They used to complain because there was so and so
Oh, I
hot
see.
dogs down at the end there, they were closed. So just be aware of that, it's one of the challenges of business and, but I think it's a great need in town and looking forward to having Sand.
But to that point, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, but there's two places that you really can't go because the business is around the beach, which is Hummerock and Sands, the general store, Sand Hills General Store.
Yeah.
So that particular beach in Hummerock would be difficult.
Okay.
But she could be at the lighthouse.
Yes.
Yeah, I didn't really, I knew the Hummerock situation, so I didn't really plan on going there, but I did not know about the Sand Hills, so thank you for that. But yeah, can I go to the lighthouse? Okay.
That's up to you.
Yeah. Well, I think that's what we have to decide in terms of how long you can be each established. Yeah. I mean, there's no other sandwich people, are there?
No.
Yeah, so I don't think there's any,
I
gonna be any
mean-
competition in terms of
Yeah.
doing the trucks.
Houlihan doesn't have his anymore, does he?
Who?
Ryan, Houlihan, remember we did it?
No, it was, you're thinking of Robin.
He just doesn't have it
You're thinking of Laura's.
And he's done.
He's no longer doing
Guys,
that.
that place Sharky or something a couple weeks ago.
Everybody, there's a list together.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that was good, that's kind of where my vision came from.
Yeah, we did give the Beacon Coffee Truck permission to be at the lighthouse for a few hours.
Yeah.
But he's currently not applied for license this year. So, yeah, I think you're right, Kenny, that it would be a question of giving, and if we approve this license, then we can approve it for extended times. But I just wanna say the paperwork, all the backup work, paperwork is, you've done a great job. Alan's in it. And I will like to add that I have known this young entrepreneur for a very long time and I'm so excited that A, it's you, and B, that we don't have, I don't believe, any vendor that is a local entrepreneur. And so I'm personally very excited, so I know she works very hard and I know my children have waited for years to have food delivered to them to the beach, so.
Oh, yes.
The great mom. Yeah, you did touch on the parking issue and obviously when, you know, 3rd of July and hot Sundays, you have to be really mindful that you will lose business if a mom comes in and can't find a spot to park.
Exactly.
We can work with Situate Police Department on a place.
Yeah, and again, if you're moving, you know, if you're only there for 15, 20 minutes, half hour, you're probably gonna park in a spot anyways, you're gonna park like the ice cream truck does, right at the entrance, get what you can and then go to the next one. Yes, sir.
Well, it sounds like you need longer.
Yeah, I would
At a
do say,
place.
I don't think I can do much business in 20 minutes, like time spans.
Yeah, that's what we'll have to figure out now, but
Her
if you do
application
it,
said 2 hours.
so you're gonna be sitting during the lunch hour at one place, not going from beach to beach to beach.
Correct, if,
Right.
I mean, it depends on like how busy that specific beach is at that time, and that's what I need to kind of figure out once I start doing it, what beaches are busy when.
Well,
They're all
it's
busy,
tides too.
Yeah,
I mean, you can't be at
exactly,
Minot
because
Beach
there's
at
no
high
beach,
tide, there's no
exactly,
beach, so they're.
exactly.
Good stuff.
So we'll just have to decide, are we gonna decide now what a reasonable time period is? For,
Well, we could do something like say, you know, not to exceed
Not to exceed 2.5 hours,
Yeah.
so yeah.
3.5 hours, and do we wanna include, you know,
Katie included in her letter the location she would like to
Yeah.
be at. So if you approve of these, it could be up to, 2.5, 3 hours, whatever you decide.
at each one?
well, I'm wondering if we need the discretion of the traffic officer, I mean, I don't, or is that just too hard? That's too hard, okay,
Again, she's gonna have to use her judgment. If she's taking out parking, then people are gonna be,
I'll let you
you
know.
know, coming on the back of the air out of her
We
time,
should give her
so.
flexibility,
Um,
and
but
you're
Down at
looking at
Tegany's,
trash too.
You talk to one of the neighbors and say, do you mind if I park across your driveway for you to get out? I can move, you know, you can park there for a while. So she's gonna have to kind of feel her way through that, you know, obviously you can't block the handicap spots and things like that, but you just wanna set some sort of maximum time that she can be in any one particular location. Not to exceed, it's like 2.5 hours, not to exceed 2.5 hours. Will she be there that whole time? Depends on the business.
Right. Is 2.5 hours reasonable for you?
I think so, yeah.
I'm sorry, would she be restricted to just these beach locations or not? If she happened to be at a Little League field, when there were 100 parents, is that?
Now that's it. Well, her application does have, Hawker's license goes anywhere except where it's excluded.
Yeah.
Where it's excluded.
There's no parking restrictions in.
We have had a lot of requests and seeing your application at town hall at lunchtime, just so you know.
Where's the dinghy? Yeah, maybe a dinghy. Where's the dinghy at?
Jim and Harold lunch
Yeah.
Gotta have good soup though, otherwise.
Yeah.
Not the summer though.
Oh, yeah. And I drink my coffee all the time, I drink my coffee.
People like their soup.
It's not your.
That's when you do your, no, you just had to be chasing the truck.
Would you like a motion? Thank you. Move that the select board approve a new hawker peddler license to, how do we say this? Atoja Kitchen Company, doing business as The Dinghy, for the 2022 season, pending board of health final approval and specifically noting that the food truck will not park for more than 2.5 hours in one location. It's a lot of words to say that.
Moved by Ms. Canfield, second by Mr. Goodrich.
Just further discussion, the only thing I wanna make sure is, if, in the past, we've gotten feedback from restaurants, so I say we start with this, we see where it is, and then if we get feedback from establishments that want us to restrict that more, then we'll just call you back in and talk about what's going on.
Yeah.
Do you want to take Hammerock off our list?
Yeah, we have to, you can't be
That's
within
fine.
300 feet, I mean, you could go to other places in Ohio, but you couldn't go at the bridge.
Okay, that's it.
Plus it's a long drive.
That's a lot of gas.
A lot of gas.
So did we vote?
Move second,
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
5-0, motion carries.
Excuse me, did you want to include the locations or not include the
No.
locations?
No, it's fine.
No, I want to give her
Okay.
flexibility.
The guidelines say you can't be within 300 feet, so.
Okay.
So. Yeah. When are you gonna, congratulations, good luck.
Hopefully June 1st. Yes, thank you.
Good luck.
Good stuff, thank you.
Next. We have discuss vote extension of Situate wind curtailment agreement, Jim Boudreau, town administrator.
Yeah, this is almost identical to the agreement that we've already signed for the current curtailment. It would run for the duration of 22, 23, and 24 calendar years. It doesn't go beyond 24, as when I was going over this with Situate Wind, 25, 26, and 27 for the cost of the RECs goes TBD. And I don't think the board wants to sign a contract with an open-ended cost that you're not aware of, so I capped it at 24, and then the board would have to renew it. 27, right now is the end of your power purchase agreement. So that's why we would only go to 27 unless we renew our power purchase agreement.
Which will make a decision of the whatever board is in place at that time.
I think probably a couple years to start looking at that, yeah.
Questions, comments from the board?
And exhibit A are estimates, right?
Based upon the wind and
And past, right?
it's based upon past
Yeah.
performance, but it depends on how windy it is and how much power they produce in over years.
Board, or shall I go beyond? Okay. Anyone in the audience have any comments, questions? Yes, ma'am?
Casper, 120 Gilson.
I'm sorry, I didn't catch her.
It's Alan Casper, 120 Gilson. Is that information available, the financial information available for us?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Is it? Yeah. Anyone else? No? Do I hear a motion?
Motion to execute the third curtailment agreement with Situate Wind for the cessation of operation of the wind turbine located at 161 Driftway year-round from the hours of 11 p.m. to 6 a.m. commencing May 1st, 2022, and ending December 31st, 2024, as voted at the April 11th, 2022 annual town meeting.
Second by Mr. Benoit, all in favor? Aye. 5-0, motion carries. And it's still shut off, Jim, but we're paying them on a daily basis until May 1st, yes?
Is that what we just, sorry, I was looking at something else. Make it effective immediately, we'll just kind of go with it, we'll start now.
That's what it says, I wrote this according to the agreement that's being signed.
Yeah, just change it to today's date, I'll just change it to today's.
All right, so could we have an amended motion?
Move to change the date to start as soon as possible.
Today, Tuesday, April 26th. Yes, okay.
I'll just change the date, let's get back.
Make a vote that? All in favor? Aye. 5-0, motion carries as amended. All right.
Carry on with your proclamation.
You're not gonna, I was gonna say, you're not reading the.
I read the proclamation.
Proclamation. Who has the Arbor Day? I bet the clerk has the Arbor Day proclamation.
I sure do.
Mr. Clerk.
Before I start,
Yes.
some fun history. J. Sterling Morton, his son, Jay, and then started the Morton Salt Company. So he, Arbor Day, and the Salt Company. Anyway.
For the minutes, Lori. Okay.
So,
Let's do this.
Arbor Day proclamation, whereas in 1872, J. Sterling Morton proposed to the Nebraska Board of Agriculture that a special day be set aside for planting trees. And whereas this holiday called Arbor Day was first observed with the planting of more than 1 million trees in Nebraska, and Arbor Day is now observed throughout the nation and the world. And whereas trees reduce the erosion of our precious topsoil by limited water, cut heating and cooling costs, moderate the temperature, clean the air, produce oxygen, and provide habitat for wildlife. And whereas trees are a renewable resource, giving us paper, wood for our homes, fuel for our fires, and countless other wood products. And whereas trees in our town increase property values, enhance the economic vitality of business areas, and beautify our community. And whereas trees, wherever they are planted, are a source of joy and spiritual renewal, and the town of Situate has been recognized as the Tree City USA for the National Arbor Day Foundation, and desires to continue its tree planting practices. Now therefore, we, the Select Board of the Town of Situate, do hereby proclaim April 30th, 2022, Arbor Day, and urge all citizens to celebrate Arbor Day and support efforts to protect our trees and woodlands. And further, we urge all citizens to plant trees to gladden the hearts and promote the well-being of this and future generations.
Very good, so moved. So adopted. Thank you, Mr. Clark.
Very good.
Alright,
Very good, Jen.
so we have an item added to our agenda, late, and it's because there is a meeting tomorrow night about the 40B project over on Old River Bucket Road. So, we will discuss vote selection of special counsel for proposed 40B housing development, Salt Meadow Development. I don't know why it's named that, because it's not near Salt Meadow, but 279 to 281 Old Oak and Bucket Road. Jim was going to update us on this, and Anthony Gutierrez is
Yes.
here. He's the chair of our zoning board of appeals.
Yes.
They're the ones who need the special counsel.
That is correct. For 40B applications in the past and elsewhere, it's not uncommon that the town will select a special counsel for representation at the meetings in the drafting of the decision, which is, as you're probably familiar, a far more robust, comprehensive permit, and in any shenanigans that may take place after that comprehensive permit is issued or not issued, as has been the case sometimes in the past. The ZBA and the building department, in connection with planning and conservation, reached out to Cindy Mara of Murphy Hesse, who we're all familiar with, their firm acts as town council. And we also reached out to Amy Questle of KP Law, which also has familiarity and experience in this regard. We received 2 proposals. Proposals were somewhat similar. I personally was more impressed by the proposal of town council. Rates were involved as well. Town council's rates happened to be more competitive. I would have leaned towards town council because of my personal familiarity with them and interacting with them in my time on the board. I think no one's gonna have more familiarity with the town currently than they are. So if all things would have been equal, I would have likely leaned towards Cindy's office. All things were maybe not so equal. They put together, in my opinion, a slightly better proposal. And I think that it would be wise for the town to select them as special counsel. I don't anticipate any pushback whatsoever from the applicant.
And they pay the attorney?
The applicant typically does pay for the town's attorney costs. Yes, it is rather rare that you get any pushback on that issue, but that's obviously will be one of the matters we discussed at our initial hearing tomorrow night.
Would you mind explaining for people in the audience, there's a lot of confusion about what is 40B, why does it wind up at the zoning board of appeals versus the planning board? What is the difference between, without taking up too much time, friendly 40B, where you don't necessarily need counsel, whereas this is a more a different decision-making process that
Sure, so there'll be some fact and some opinion in my answers to those
Yeah.
questions. 40B is a Massachusetts statute that I am very much overgeneralizing because we all wanna go home and go to sleep tonight. But 40B allows a developer, a property owner, depending on which lens you wanna look at it from, to have a faster or more straightforward and often a lesser burden to not comply with certain aspects of a town zoning code without meeting the typical variance standard, which is a very high threshold. If that developer is engaged in a multifamily project of which at least 25% of the units will be affordable, it makes it, in my opinion, very difficult for a town to say, no, you can't be within, in Situate's instance, 30 feet of a street. If the developer is gonna be 25% affordable and they've gone through the steps to make it a 40B project, the town's gonna be hard pressed to keep them even more than 10 feet from the street without a showing of a very good cause. And traditionally, through the appeals process, that cause has been difficult to show. That process becomes a lot more complex for a developer when a town meets a certain threshold of affordable units. And I do not have the statistics on how close we are, other than knowing that we are not yet there. We're between 5 and 6% and we need to get to 10, correct? So we are not there. And to your question about when we need special counsel and when we don't, I think I've been on the board for just over 9 years now. We've had one 40B from start to finish in my time on the board, which was over by the library, where there was already housing and we had an affordable 40B unit that went behind it. There was really no objection from abutters. The project made perfect sense. It was a relatively small project. It accessed the town fields and the library. If that wasn't a friendly 40B, we were never going to have one in Situate. And town did not hire special counsel for that. Obviously, we're all aware of the 40B project that is now almost built. That was not a friendly 40B. I tend to be of the impression that none should be unfriendly. The town should have concerns, they should be expressed and mitigated or addressed to the extent possible. That was the opposite of a friendly 40B, and in my opinion, went very poorly for the town. because the town decided to draw a line in the sand and the developer got to erase that line, and the town spent a lot of money to no avail for many years. This project is going to fall somewhere in between there. It's approximately, the application's a little vague on exactly how many units, something we'll flush out. We're looking at between 32 and 38 units, depending on how you look at the application. It's in an area where there's wetlands, that's pretty common in Situate. That's going to be a lot of cars compared to what's on that street now, but also, given what we may have coming down the down 3A, let's say, in the town of Situate, it's not a huge project. So this is one where some significant I's need to be dotted at best, and maybe we need to take some I's off the table at worst. I do think special counsel is warranted. I don't think the developer, I'll be surprised, I should say, if the developer will be putting the bill, really disagrees with that. And I think this is the best way to proceed.
So, and your hearings are televised, yes, they're taped.
Yes, they are.
So, at this point, if people are interested in that particular project,
Yes,
they should be watching the zoning board of appeals at this point.
they should be. So for 40B hearings such as this, especially when the board's as busy as it is now with all the development that happens in spring and summer, we typically have separate meetings. So third Thursday of every month, we'll have our typical zoning board meeting. It's 6 applications this month. I think we're up to 10 for next month. So this is a separate meeting. We're holding it tomorrow evening. It was scheduled and publicized just as our normal meetings would. Abutters to the project, which lots are a little bigger down in that neighborhood. I actually used to live right there. I no longer do. There weren't that many abutters. I think Norwell was actually notified. But then also, there's obviously general interest in town, and the concern gets a little bit greater. The town planner and the building department and some others had the great idea, in my opinion, to post much more of the application online than we're typically able to. I'm sure some folks will say, wow, all zoning applications, we wish they were. We do what we can with the resources we have, with how people submit their applications. Obviously, there's a little more experience behind an application like this when you're dealing with a quasi-commercial developer at least. So we have a lot of it electronically. Folks can find that on the zoning board's website. And then it'll be a hybrid meeting just like this tomorrow evening, where folks will be able to attend. We're concerned about capacity, we'll be in this room. But the Zoom meeting will also be involved, and I think we've done a pretty good job thus far in getting comments and allowing folks on Zoom to interact. And also for folks who are paying attention, I do not anticipate, and I'm probably in more control than anyone else, any votes tomorrow night. That would be rare. This might not take as long as some 40Bs do, but tomorrow is going to be more information, concerns. Hopefully we hear from some other boards and departments in town. We're going to hear from some abutters. We're likely going to give the applicants some homework to come back for the next year.
Questions?
Yeah, can I just piggyback on your question there? I often get asked this question that I don't know the answer to.
Sure.
So 40Bs come into town.
Yes.
They come before you with 36 units, and then all of a sudden 65 units are built somewhere. How does the scope of the project change when initially it's presented as X and then the finished product is Y?
So I'm not sure. I'm not familiar with, are you speaking if a specific project came to the board at a certain number of units and it was built at a far greater number of units?
Usually it's the opposite.
Yeah, we'll take the one over on Chief Justice Cushing, one
Sure.
before. That was proposed at much less than it is now.
And
the design was much different than it was.
I actually would not agree with that based on the information that I have. That was initially proposed at a far greater number of units than it is now. And there were 2 applications. There may have been one application far earlier on where it was proposed as smaller, and I don't think the town accepted it.
and then I think maybe the Great Recession got into play there. There was another application that was proposed at a significantly greater number than the number of units that are there now. There's significant litigation, some other delays, and what was built
yeah, I mean,
now
not-
is slightly less.
Yeah, so it's just it's the general, or that's the question that I get, you know,
Sure.
I know that one intimately, because I live right
Yeah,
near it.
yeah.
It was much smaller, the property got sold 2 or 3 times, and
Yeah.
it's been going on for 10 years. But there's other ones too, even people mentioned the Drew project, where the scope of the pictures looked one way, and now once it's built, it looks differently,
So not a 40B that
No,
came
no.
before the zoning
just
board.
in general, you know, the
Yeah.
perception of the town is a project's gonna go in at some level.
Yep.
And then it always, not always, it comes back looking differently than what we expected and much bigger and
Sure.
taller and whatnot. How,
So if I can just touch on that real quick, Tony, what happens a lot of times on a 40B is the developer says, I want X. And it goes to the zoning board of appeals, and the zoning board of appeals says, we're gonna give you Y, we're gonna approve a smaller development. And the town thinks, okay, that's what we've approved, that then gets appealed to the housing appeals committee and goes through the whole process, and the housing appeals committee goes, no, you can build as many as you want, you can build that big one despite what the town said. So
Oh, I
that's,
know, yeah.
that's kind of what happens a lot of times, is people think the zoning board of appeals has approved 50. And the applicant goes to the housing appeals committee, he gets back with the 75 that he originally wanted.
And typically in that instance, the zoning board of appeal, we can't, and town council would be better suited to answer this question, but I'm not familiar with a ZBA issuing a permit for 40 units if the developer is saying they want 50. It would be the ZBA saying, no, you can't have 50. We might be okay with 40. The developer says, we're gonna hold it 50, and then they go to housing appeals and they win.
It's not economical at 40.
Yeah, and so.
so do you, I guess maybe the answer is, they come before us initially with a picture that looks nicer than they end up doing because they go through the appeal process and get what they want.
Yes, that can absolutely happen, and so in going back to the bridge there, the initial project that came around in the first instance, you'd be better suited to say that anyone, I think you'd probably rather that one than what's there now.
Yeah, I guess you kind of lose, the town loses an understanding of what happens to the project when it goes through the appeals process. You know, we will go to meetings and you'll say, well, we're trying to get it down to 40 units or something.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, even the one that they're proposing over in, by the town forest, you know, when we talked about that, it's grown 10-15%
Right.
since the numbers that we said, you know, keep it at 220. Now I look at things, it's 260, I'm like, well,
Right.
what happened?
Not before us yet, and I'll hold a firm line that that's not what we'll be discussing tomorrow night
No,
or
I-
at the successive hearings.
I'm just, it's just a question that I'm unable to answer when people ask, and I'm like,
It's a valid
it's
question.
already built, it's not coming.
And I haven't been shy about my opinions on how we should conduct these hearings. The town has a voice now in how this is built and has the ability to steer how this is built and how it isn't built. And if the town overplays that hand, which in my opinion it has in the past, we lose that voice. And most often the project still gets built without the town's voice and the town's concerns being as prominent as they would have been if we would have played a little more ball early on.
I think that's probably the right answer, and I don't think we've ever won a 40B, appealing a 40B.
I think that folks that towns denying 40Bs don't hit for a very good average.
So,
You never win at the housing appeals committee.
It's I think town council would say not never, I think town council has once. Actually, they're one of the few firms that have, but it's better to be wise up front.
One last question pertaining to this, is when you get a town council, was it gonna be Cindy or will it be someone who specializes in this?
So Cindy and her firm and her partners do actually specialize in this. One of her specifications is land use, which this is right in the middle of. But some of her partners and paralegals will absolutely be
It
involved.
looked like
in
there was a
representation
team,
as well. There is.
various
Yep.
expertise.
She's got a backup, someone might be more involved in engineering. This is separate from peer review. There will be peer review engineers. That process works its way out in the hearing. But because town council is involved, Jim recommended that I do come to you for this approval.
Only the board of selectmen can hire counsel on the school committee.
So there's actually some confusion on that, in that under 40B, the applicant raised this, said go to the select board, get your approvals. But because they're paying, and because the ZBA is the permit granting authority under 40B, which we could, whether or not that makes sense, it's not our place to say. There is an argument that the ZBA could select town special counsel, which is paid for by the applicant, without your approval, but I'm the one who would do that and foster that, and I have no interest in doing that. So I'm here to, whether or not it's belt and suspenders, here
I think it's good for people to know.
Yep, and we're publicizing the meeting,
Yes,
maybe for a little too long now, everybody
Yes.
wants to be done, but.
I think the big point that the chair of the ZBA made is this process is stacked against the town. The zoning board of appeals will have to permit something. Because if you don't permit something, it's nothing on this over here that the developer wants. And you don't want that. And I think the other thing that people need to know is this is really skewed towards rental property. As you said, 25% of the units must be affordable. If you build 100 condos, you get 25 affordable units, 75 market rate units. If you build 100 apartments, you get 25 affordable apartments, but all 100 units count as affordable towards your number.
Is that what this project is?
This is ownership.
This is ownership, that's
Which is different, right?
something that needs to get flushed out. Yeah.
This is
Who's the
ownership.
developer?
So,
I don't have the folks behind it. A lot to digest in 20 days. I'm personally focusing on the relief they need first, and we'll, anyone's welcome at the hearing to ask almost anything they would like.
Jim, did we send a letter to the, whoever they are, like we did on behalf of, and we basically got told.
That's determination of eligibility.
Right.
It's like stepping over a crack in the sidewalk to get eligibility.
Yeah.
So we sent a letter expressing our concerns with the project as presented, and the state basically says, yeah, we'll deal with those in here. And
Right.
step over it. In 27 years, I know one
So
project.
everyone knows, we have made an effort. We understand, this board understands, your board understands that we have water issues, we have sewer issues, we have all kinds of issues, and basically, whatever you say to them, you know what, whatever, we need more housing.
We're going to discuss water and demand.
Well, they won't get sewer over there, that, we know that.
Well, yeah, so that's all gonna be discussed at the hearing, and any town board that has a question that they want asked, it's going to be asked. So reach out to us, preferably in writing through the building department secretary, so we have it on file, so we can send it to the applicant. I want them to be prepared. We're not gonna miss or avoid reading anything that we get from any town board. We'll make sure it's part of the discussion.
I think this is actually septic, it's not even big enough for treatment plant, small treatment plant.
So, we're here tonight to decide to appoint special counsel. We have two choices should we decide to exercise that, right? If anyone has anything to say about, Anthony, or you tell me you're Anthony.
I'm a bit of both.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Should I motion?
Good for you, yes, please.
Move to select Murphy, Hess, Toomey, and Lahane to represent the town of Situate relative to the proposed 40B housing development located at 279 through 281 Old Open Bucket Road.
Second by Ms. Canfield, motion made by Ms. Curran, all in favor?
Aye.
5-0, motion carries, good luck.
Thank you. Tune
Back
in
here
tomorrow.
night.
It's gonna be a good. Thank you.
Enjoy.
discuss vote renewal of Hopper peddler license for Zapp's Ice Cream.
We talked about that.
I think we had to.
Would you like a motion?
I would.
Move that the select board, approve to renew the Hawker Peddler license to Zapp's Ice Cream for the 2022 season.
Second by Mr. Vignani, all in favor? Aye. 5-0, motion carries. Discuss vote appointment of election poll workers. Kathy had sent us a note saying that she needed a couple of extra because of all the craziness going on with.
Move to appoint the following election workers as requested by the town clerk, Ryan and Kathleen Dempsey.
Second by Ms. Canfield, motion by Mr. Vignani, all in favor? Aye. Discuss vote, one-day wine and malt licenses.
Move
Lavishly,
the board of selectmen approve
Thank
the
you.
one-day wine and malt license to Lavishly Done for an event at the Situate Harbor Community Building on May 7th, 2022 from 6 to 8 p.m. And the Black Apron for an event at the Senior Center on May 3rd from 6 to 10 p.m.
Actually, that's the one that Linda said. They only needed, the by 9.
Till 9.
6 till 9 p.m. And lastly, another event for the Black Apron for the event at Situate Maritime Center on May 14th, 2022 from 11 a.m. until 3 p.m.
And there's one more, Melania's.
And Mulaney's at 8 Allen Place for 3 private events on April 30th, May 7th, and May 14th from 7 to 11 p.m.
Second by Ms. Canfield, all in favor?
Aye.
5-0, motion carries. Liaison reports, please. Anybody been liaison lately?
I hear there's a big meeting in CBA tomorrow.
I hear that.
I've-
We already covered all the
I have
goings on in town. Yes, Ms.
Ship Shape Day is this Saturday.
Yes, it is.
So it's a very important day for us in Situate, so the Beautification Commission has been organizing and planning for many months for this, so please show up at Town Hall, pick up your goodies, choose your areas to help pick up. We thank you in advance, and I know they do as well, but they'll be here.
And the Susie Brie people get to see what wonderful citizens we are.
Yes.
Pick up all class.
That's my liaison report.
Yes. So, nothing for liaison letters, which is getting as we speak, but want to go to correspondence or?
Sure, unless anyone else has a liaison.
Yes, Susie Brie on the 30th, as we've discussed many times. But Cedar Point Association sent in a note just about some improvements and some issues with things such as stormwater drains and some curbing issues that for us for the board to take a look at. Also, the Irish Heritage Trail, May 22nd, 1 p.m. at the bandstand for the big unveiling of all their activities.
The Irish Heritage Trail, which now has 2 additional towns added to it, so I hear.
Which is fabulous. And let's see, also the Plymouth County Cares, the latest new updates. Let's see, we're now at $2.9 million. 969, 730. It's wonderful. So,
Thank you to Nancy and Jim for keeping that, getting, I know.
It's all Nancy. I just signed it.
I know. But it's significant that the amount of work that goes into trying to get this, all that money that is rightfully ours, but we have to jump through a few groups to get it, but.
Well, every time we have a call on it, the county continually points out, if you wanna look to see how to do the reimbursement request, get a copy of Situate's, because they're the ones that are done correct. So, that's Nancy, I just signed when they come in. There you go.
Hard work, good work. Anyone else?
The dream team.
Board wants to accept the minutes?
Yes, please.
Move to accept the minutes for the select board meeting held on April 5th and April 11th, 2022.
Second by Ms. Canfield. All in favor? Aye, 5-0, motion carries.
Just before we adjourn, I wanna
Yes.
wish Ms. Holt a happy birthday.
Yes. So, I think we can adjourn the meeting, but I'd like to
Then we'll
thank
say.
everyone who
Then we'll
came,
say.
everyone who came to town meeting for 2 nights last week. It was a lot of work, but we appreciate, wasn't it last week? Or was it the week before?
2 weeks.
Oh, 2 weeks. I felt bad, oh, never mind. It was
Seems like
full vacation.
yesterday.
It seems like yesterday. But thank you, this is our first meeting since then, so thank you to everyone for coming. And as Tony pointed out yesterday, we have a colonial form of government, and I never looked at it that way, but that's exactly what it is, so that's that. Do I hear a motion to adjourn? Or I already?
Move to adjourn and sign documents.
Second by Ms. Curran, all in favor? Aye. Good night, everyone.